He has the confidence to pull it off. Martin calls good game. Unbelievable. Sergio Ramos wins! First ever CRL World Champion!
Team Liquid is going to be your champion! Mugi 2021!
He's done it! World Champion! The Clash Royale League starts now! Hello and welcome to Clash Royale League. This is our June monthly finals. This is the Premier League for all things Clash Royale. Hey everybody, I am Andrew Guy. Joining me is Joshua AC Sharon and of course Jackson Juicy J Wall. Gentlemen, great to have you here. And right now it's Mohamed Light's world and we are just living in it. This is our fourth golden ticket that we're giving away. Mo has won all three of our prior monthly finals, but he's given away a couple of those golden tickets. More on that in just a bit. Gentlemen, it's great to see you. How you doing today? We'll start with you, Jackson. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing all right. You know, I've been looking at some update stuff this morning, but you know, overall, I'm solid. I'm excited to watch some Clash Royale today.
Wearing his emotions on his sleeve always is Juicy J. AC, how you doing this morning, bro?
Good. I thought I was going to be asked first, so I got really excited. I took a deep inhale, and then you went to Jackson, so kind of hurt by that. So he's wearing his emotions, I'm hurt. It's just not the start that we were looking for, I think.
Well, I feel great, and based off of everything that we've seen so far, Mohamed Light is feeling great. And for you guys at home, we have 3 world champions in our 8 players today, 5 world finalists from 2022. We're going to get into the action right now. Josh, how did we get to where we are here today?
All right, well, let's take a look at the roadmap. All you have to do is finish top 1,000 on the Clash Royale leaderboards every single month. If you do, you get invited to participate in the tourney of all tourneys. You try and make it to the top 32, then you try to make it to the top 8, and then if you are able to win a monthly final, you get a golden ticket. And once you make it to the World Finals, there's going to be 16 players all battling it out in double elimination format to try and get that championship on their mantle. And then let's take a look at just the format of the day. We have the 8-player double elimination bracket, best of 3 duel format, just like always. Everybody has to use a unique deck every single time they go in. If you use Hog game 1, well, you can't use it game 2 or 3.
And this is the in-game duels format, so you got to make those decisions on a fly. And one person who has been thriving in any format, no matter what it is Mohamed Light. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you've watched him. And I think what's really interesting about our matchup here today is Mohamed Light and Ruben are 2 world champions. Obviously, Mo just winning last year, Ruben winning it back in 2020. It feels like they just missed each other in the changing of the guard. So it's going to be really cool to see both of them here. And honestly, the person right in the middle of it, Mugi, our world champion back in 2021, is also in the mix here today. So while we have a lot of great players in our competition, it's really just been Mohamed Light. It was basically 2022 was the year that everyone kind of stopped debating who the best player in the world was, and everyone was just saying it's him. Now into 2023, he's just the best. There's absolutely, it's not who can be the best player in the world, it's who can be that guy right there. He turns water into tea as he takes that big sip. That was after he won another monthly final last month against Pedro, as you can see right there. Mohamed Light won in March, Mohamed Light won in April, but Pandora took the ticket, and then Mohamed Light won in May, but Pedro was able to take that ticket. You guys were here last month. I was not. Juicy, talk to me a little bit about these golden ticket winners.
Yeah, as we talked about, Mohamed Light so dominant, winning back-to-back-to-back in the actual monthly finals, handing out these golden tickets to Pandora first in April and Pedro in May. You know, I would like to say it was close, but it wasn't. Mohamed Light just absolutely dominating. Pedro kind of the rookie of the year here, making it to the World Finals. There's another way you can make it to the World Finals, though, and that's through this leaderboard. Top 7 from this leaderboard is going to be making it to that World Finals to compete for that $1.3 million prize pool. And you can accumulate points and push this leaderboard by being consistent every single month, not only in the monthly finals, but also just in the group stage, in the Swiss stage, just performing well. You guys can check out this leaderboard right now. Any of these players have a pretty solid shot to make that World Finals spot.
Yeah, that's a great point that you make there, Juice, about just being able to be consistent every single month. Even if you're not here, even if you're not in these top 8 players, being consistent through those qualifiers is really important and on that path of legends. Here we are, day 1. That's right, that's here today. Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, to crown our June golden ticket winner. We're going to start our day off with Mo Light. He's the first seed once again, going up against Deroy or Mr. Cena. More on him in just a moment. Rainbow and Vitor, Mugi, then Ruben, Pandora, and Air Surfer. And like I said, we have a stacked lineup today. It's really exciting to see all these players in the competition. Like I said, we have a changing of the guard, Mugi in the middle, Mohamed Light at the front, but it really was just all about Team Queso and Ruben back in 2020. So guys, a little bit of fun here. We obviously have our bracket. We're going to get working through that in just a moment. But since we have so many big names with so much potential, what is your fantasy matchup for the weekend? Not just in the first 4, but if any one of these 8 players could play any of the other one, what would it be? AC, I'll start with you since I hurt your feelings at the start of the show.
Here we go.
What matchup would you love to see more than any other here?
Okay, 2 names pop out to me more than any of the other ones, and this is just the easiest answer in the world for me. I want Ruben and Air Surfer. I love Ruben's gameplay. You know, he started the healer meta 2 years ago. He taught me how to play. He embarrassed me in my final 1v1 game in a Clash Royale competitive event. And then on the other side, Air Surfer, he is so fun to watch. I love all the little things he does. I've done it twice now where I've commented on one of his plays and then I asked him if I was correct. Like, no one else, I don't do that for anybody else because I can actually just follow along. But for him, he does those little things that nobody else does, and I love both of their gameplays.
Yeah, Air Surfer's been impressing us since day 1 of Clash Royale League. Juicy, what about you? 2 players that you'd love to see here match up today.
You know, I'm in a similar situation. I want to go Mohamed Light and Air Surfer. They're on opposite sides of the bracket.
Wow.
I can definitely see that being a very cool kind of finals. And if that is the final, that would mean Air Surfer could actually get that golden ticket since Mohamed Light already has one. And, you know, I'm always rooting for him. I got asked yesterday who the best player from the United States is, and I think it's got to be him. You know, he's just so consistent. Like Josh said, he's always so creative in his gameplay. Whenever I play him on ladder, I get absolutely destroyed. Yep. And, I mean, he's just so great. I would love to see that matchup.
I'm the one person doing the confetti on his side. I kind of teased mine
a little bit earlier on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said I'm the one person doing confetti on Air Surfer's side. It's just 50 for Juicy, just 1 for Air Surfer. That's me.
I, on the other hand, I'm going for the big dogs. I want to see Mo and Ruben. I feel like we barely got to see them when they were at their peak. I know Ruben isn't exactly where he was back in the day, but maybe he could get there. I would love to see maybe someone finally take Mo down, and it ends up being the guy that was dominating the game 3 years ago. I think that'd be super cool to see. But let's get into our predictions, since that is just those were just matchups we'd love to see. These are the actual predictions for matches that are actually happening here today. And we have a new segment we're going to do at the end of the show, and that's going to be basically who's the best picker. Wow, that was the hardest thing for me to say. Who's got the best predictions? And so because of that, I changed my pick to Pandora. Even though I do love Jack, I do love Air Surfer, I want that prize, and I'm trying to strike early here with a Pandora win to separate me, although it could just put me behind both of you moving forward. But those are our picks. We're all going Mo, we're all going Vitor, we're all going Mugi, and then the one outlier is me going for Pandora. Air Surfer is in both of your guys' decisions there, so we'll see if I'm right or not. But that's enough out of us. I'm sure that you guys are here for the matches. Maybe you're a Mugi stan like AC, or maybe you are like everyone else in the world that's here to see Mohamed Light just continue his reign of dominance. Most used card, Barbarian Barrel. That seems right. Why wouldn't it be? It's a dominant card in the game. Mohamed Light's 79% win rate. Deroy or Mr. Cena, 64%. AC, I want to go to you. You reached out to Mr. Cena or Deroy before the match. Tell us at home and on broadcast what that conversation was about.
Well, so I do these monthly videos about the top 8 prospects of every single in every single monthly finals. If you guys do want to check that out, it's going to be all on the socials. It's going to be on YouTube at Clash Royale Esports, I want to say. I'm usually used to you doing that. But I reached out to him and I was like, hey, you know, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Anything that we should know? And so he recently started competing. He didn't turn 16. That's the age requirement until a couple weeks before the April season started. So he is just fresh on the scene. He is a rookie of all rookies. Nobody's really heard of him. Also, E-Giant is one of his better decks, and then he does struggle with tilt. So I kind of talked to him a little bit about that, and you know, you gotta focus up every single game.
All right, we'll bring Juicy J back in just a little bit, but for now, we're into our first matchup of the CRL June monthly finals. Remember, golden ticket up for grabs this weekend. $1.3 million in that prize pool on the season. And of course, the winner of World Finals will walk away with a cool $250,000, and there's still a few more months for you to get involved. We'll talk about how you can later on, but first, let's get into this. We got Giant Skelly, top of your screen, bottom of your screen, some Zappies. Always love to see Zappies in the bar barrel. I mean, that graphic wasn't lying to us.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Droy on the top of the screen going to be running Giant Skeleton Flying Machine, so this is likely going to be the Hoggies?
Yeah.
Maybe the mirror version as well. And then on the bottom side, Mohamed Light just looks like the Fireball variation with RG in the deck.
Yeah, and just for you guys at home, if you're a little confused by the graphics, we're just going to leave them for this match, but it is actually Mo at the bottom of the screen playing blue, and Mr. Cena or Deroy top of your screen playing red. You can just look at the names on the screen instead of the cameras, but you know who's who. 16 years old, tiltable, going against the best in the world. I mean, this is truly the definition of you have nothing to lose at all. I do think that the tilt factor is something that you're going to have to work through. I mean, you know, Josh and Juicy knows as well, you guys have been in the competitive scene for a long time, and I'm sure you both felt your maturity and your tilt factor your maturity get higher and your tilt factor get lower as you got older. I mean, maybe that's just an assumption, but...
No, yeah, that's 100% correct. It's something that every single pro struggles with from day one, and you know, that's part of the easiest way to improve in this game is actually just working on tilt. It's not learning all the little interactions. It's just, hey, can I focus up and use my elixir correctly consistently? That's all you need to do to improve. Well, to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point that you make there, because the tilting, I think the biggest thing that happens is your fundamentals start to go out the window, whether it's in Clash Royale or in sports. Like when you play angry, you just don't make those finesse plays that you need in CR, as Mohamed Light makes pretty often. Got a little close there on that last push. Nice Fisherman to pull that Skeleton King away as the Giant Skeleton plus Hoggies made their way down that right-hand lane. But Mohamed Light, while it seems like he's kind of been on his back foot, if you will, or defending most of this matchup, he is still in the lead with that Royal Giant in the left-hand lane coming down. Once again, 2015, 2497. I love that Mo has recognized the big spell from his opponent. is arrows, so let's stack up one of the most annoying cards in the game, the Mother Witch.
Yeah, and he's doing such a phenomenal job on protecting these Mother Witches. I'm assuming he already has it back in his cycle, so we could see it get played anytime soon. But he is doing such a great job of, I mean, it's just the same thing. You place Mother Witch in the back, and then you place a bunch of other troops until you have another Mother Witch. That's all he needs to do to win this game.
It's so crazy when you break it down like that, because the Mother Witch is such a dominant card when played correctly, but I think the reason why people aren't screaming for a nerf on the Mother Witch is because most people don't protect and play Mother Witches like Mo or these other players do at the highest level. You called it out early on, AC. It was the mirrored version, last card in the deck, and I mean, that's the difference between the best player in the world and a guy who's making his very first CRL appearance, excuse me.
But I would like to say, I didn't see too many major mistakes. I really do think it comes down to, hey, you're going against the best player in the world, best analyst in the world, most confident player in the world. So I'm going to play a deck that I'm confident with. And so that's what he did. It didn't work out for him, but we oftentimes see so many of these rookies making just terrible mistakes that should never be made. And I didn't see that from him. So I did like what I saw from him in game one.
That's a really great point that you make there. I mean, yeah, it just kind of felt like he got lulled to sleep, right? It didn't feel like you said any big mistakes. It was just that Mo was in the lead and Mo stayed in the lead the whole time. Like whether it was an elixir advantage or basically like you were talking about, just those Mother Witches really dominating the control, the map control, or the board control, and really steering the conversation to the left-hand side of the board. So let's see if Mr. Cena or Deroy can bounce back. I know that there's a few players in the world, Lucas, Ian, Old School Jack might have something to say about it, but I do think Mohamed Light is the best Hoggy Q player in the world. I don't care what anyone says. Don't at me.
Speaking his truth, so I love to see that.
It's just the way he does it, man. I mean, it's not his favorite win condition, but I've seen him play it in competitive now for 3 years, and there's just a way about the way he controls the game and the pace. So we'll see if Mr. Cena can do one better.
And right here, Mohamed Light, he is going to have the quicker cycle variation alongside the Monk as well. So already with the damage advantage going into double elixir. So the two cards that you really need to look at are just going to be the bomb towers, because he's always going to be able to have them in cycle, and then the monks, because he can get that chip damage that Droy cannot. And right there, great defense, guards plus Ice Spirit equals no shots for Droy.
And a nice log there, predict from Mohamed Light on top of those goblins. Goblins were played defensively the first time, and Mohamed Light goes, no, sir, you cannot do that 2 times in a row, not against me. And you can see he's laughing it up with probably Jeb is over there. Tower down to 1395, 25-21 is the lowest for Mo. Wow. Yeah, I mean, unless I'm wrong here, AC, I don't think Mr. Cena or Deroy used a champion in game 1 either, right?
Giant Skeleton, Royal Hogs, yeah, I think that variation doesn't have it.
I don't know what it would have been. I know that Mo played Skeleton King. It just feels, I mean, we've had this conversation for a long time now that champions have been in the game, and you can see there a little bit of the tilt factor coming in Deroy's camera, just frustrated on the fact that he's like, why can I not break through? How does he keep getting hog hits? I'm a little surprised we don't see any champion at all in either of these matchups. I mean, AC, you called it out very early on. Mo has the faster cycle, obviously going to have a much faster cycle without the Inferno Tower, and you throw the Monk in there.
Yeah, that's right. And right here, I mean, Hogs getting constant chip. We see them as Snowball. Would not have changed a thing. That is such a clean way to start the day for Mohamed Light. I mean, his opponent really did not play that poorly. It comes down to he has the quicker cycle and he just gets a pre-log. Like, the game's over just like that. How does that happen? And you just... He's so calm right now because we're asking how that happened, and he's just waiting for his round number 2 to start.
I mean, you said it, right? Like, he has a faster cycle. and 1 pre-log. That's it. And honestly, it's so funny because it almost felt like the goblins that came down the first time were actually just Mr. Cena playing goblins to pressure at the bridge, but then Mo played a hog into them. So maybe in Mr. Cena or Droy's mind, he was like, well, technically he didn't think that I used goblins defensively. Maybe he thought it was just placed at the same time. So I'm going to try it one more time. And literally that in and of itself cost him the whole game. I mean, I think like you said, once you get it down to a higher level, like the actual macro of it, not the micro of something like a pre-log, the macro of it is you're playing the best player in the world and he's got you beat by cycle and he has a champion on the board, which makes your firecracker basically useless other than to get a king tower activation on your side of the board, but he already has a firecracker. So yeah, it just becomes one of those things where you got outplayed. This is how you start your career, right? You're going to run into the best along the way. Mo didn't win world champion the very first time he came out in CRL. It took him a while to get to where he was last year. So, you know, congrats to Mr. Cena. And I think no one out there in the world is surprised at the results of game number 1, match number 1.
Yeah, the last comments that we made when I was talking to Droy, personally, his final comment was, does this kind of set me as the biggest underdog in any matchup, in any final ever? And I didn't really have the heart to like go into depth about it, but basically the answer is it's got to be at least top 3. And right there in that set, it just showed. I really do want to give props to Droy though, because he didn't really do anything that bad. I was kind of looking at the matchup a little bit more in depth for the game number 2, and you also have to take a look that he has guards and Ice Spirit, so he can't snowball, right. He can't earthquake. It's just, it never gets through. This is the hardest counter he could possibly ask for in game number 2 as well. So I think we should see really good things in the future from Droy, even though it's rough start.
Jackson Juicy Wall, brother, how you feeling about that first matchup? I mean, anything that we didn't point out that you would like to bring to our attention?
I mean, you guys kind of hit the nail on the bud there with just some tough matchups, I think. I think having one spell in that Piggy's deck versus the spam of the Skelly King, the Tombstone, the Mother Witch, the Zappies is really difficult. Yeah. In that second game, it really just comes down to that champion. He had that Monk on the board. He went for the Hog Rider. He outcycled the Inferno Tower. And I think Droy was just a little bit aggressive on the right-hand side. That pre-log came through and the game was over.
Yeah, let's take a look here at our bracket. We're only one match into the day, but setting up what's coming your way. Rainbow versus Vitor is next. Following that is Mugi and Ruben. And then waiting in the wings, Pandora and Airserv for a very exciting one there. Some World Finals rematches coming your way. But first, we got to go to Rainbow and Vitor. Another, I mean, really the other biggest underdog and favor matchup, David versus Goliath, if you will. I think it's a lot less of a gap here. We know a lot about Vitor, and I'll kind of let you guys take this away because, you know, obviously you know him better than I do, even though we've been watching him for a while. Do we know anything about Rainbow? AC, Juicy? He's definitely new on my radar. I've seen the name, but I don't know his gameplay.
Yeah,
no.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not very familiar with it. I think I've probably played him on ladder a little bit, but you know, I want to talk about Vitor a little bit. I think that overall, I've seen a lot of mistakes coming out lately from Vitor. Actually, casting the Snapdragon Pro Series not too long ago, actually missed a tornado, and he didn't make it too far. And before that, I think in the monthly finals, I saw him miss another tornado. So I think that, Rainbow definitely the underdog, but I think that if he plays solid, like he definitely has a chance to beat Vitor, maybe get a bit of an upset here.
Yeah, just a little bit of history here on Rainbow. He's a Honduran player. He showed up in our second and third monthly finals as 24th and 16th place, respectively. Obviously, Vitor on the other side of it. He was just at World Finals. And yeah, it's so interesting when you talk about that because there's a few players from last year's World Finals that feel like they've gone a little bit quiet here in 2023. Lucas is another one that pops in my head, although he did win that competition, DreamHack, so he at least did that. Morton's been pretty quiet. Mugi's been pretty quiet, but we've seen Mugi here in the monthly finals. So it's just about finding that form. We haven't seen Sweep much at all in 2023. Is another player that I was really looking forward to seeing if his gameplay was going to evolve. So Vitor, it's about kind of buckling down and getting back to fighting form. AC, Vitor is obviously a fan favorite. He's a big favorite of ours. Anything that you have to say on him from here in 2023? Or are you kind of in the same boat as Juicy, just a little surprised by how quiet he's been?
I don't know. For me, I'm just really happy to see him in this position where he's finally made it to a monthly finals. I guess I can't say I'm too shocked, but I also am surprised that he hasn't been in the monthly finals more times this year. It's just, I love getting to see him compete. He's probably the one player that I would put at the top of the list just because it looks like he's having so much fun when he plays. I was mesmerized by the replay that was playing when it was showcasing his skills, because it was just Mega Knight, or it was Minion Horde spam, and he's just throwing troops at the bridge, and he looks like he's having fun when he plays, and so that's always special in a player for me.
Absolutely. We are going to be letting go of Andrew here. We have Rainbow at the top of your screen, Vitor at the bottom. So we have a Royal Giant versus a Giant Skelly Balloon here. AC, what is your overall thoughts on this matchup here? Who do you think has the advantage?
Well, because it's not going to be a hunter variation or no building, it does look pretty scary on Vitor's side.
Yeah.
I feel like Rainbow, if he plays it slow, should probably just have a lot of answers for Vitor's pushes, and then all these counterattacks are going to be pretty massive and pretty deadly. So I would assume, just based off the troops that have been shown, that Rainbow would have the advantage.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You make some good points there. Vitor only having the Phoenix for air defense, and that Giant Skelly Balloon pushes are going to be brutal. Vitor does get a very nice King Tower activation here to start this off for himself, though. Maybe that can change the matchup a little bit. Goes to the left-hand side, and an RG. What is Rainbow gonna do here to defend here?
I don't know, but Rainbow, I mean, I love the play in theory, but it just did not work out. But the prediction snowball to try and push the Fisherman outside of the range of the Giant Skeleton would have been the most beautiful play I've ever seen. I will want the replay guys to check that out, because that could have been the game winner in just the most beautiful way ever. Doesn't work, and Vitor is just having a field day with that one mistake. He has gotten the tower all the way down to 1-1, 1-1.
I really like this pressure in the ops lane by Vitor when Rainbow goes for the Phoenix in back, because you can actually counter that Phoenix for 1 elixir card. And obviously you need to go ops lane in a matchup like this as well, just because those counterattacks are going to be brutal. If Rainbow can find a way to get a good Giant Skelly Balloon push, it can be very difficult to defend. Wow, a very nice prediction Fisherman here as well. What does Rainbow have to do to make a comeback in this situation, Josh?
Well, I think it just comes down to he has to play a lot slower. He's getting slightly too aggressive, and he's going in with Giant Skeleton Loon pushes or Miner Loon pushes, and these will just never work. The Miner gets 2 shots. He uses a Snowball as well. The Loon might get a shot, but that doesn't really actually matter. He can just lightning with this or do something, although he is cleaning up pretty nicely. But there you go. You're just giving up that 1 shot and forcing out the arrows. He got way too aggressive throughout this game, and it really hurt him overall.
Yeah, on the other hand, Vitor's aggression is paying dividends here. Rushing with another Royal Giant on the bridge. Bomb Tower is not even a cycle. That is going to be the final connection. GG's. Vitor taking game 1 in this best of 3. Looking at the decks overall here, we have RG out from Vitor, Miner and Balloon out from Rainbow. I'm not sure what we're going to be seeing here. I would assume we're going to see some more quick cycling decks. Maybe a Hog versus Miner situation here.
Yeah, and so talking a little bit about Rainbow, he went 6-0 in the round of 32. He was only one of 2 players. I'll let the audience guess who the other 6-0 player was. It was Muhammad Light. Rainbow went 6-0 in the round of 32, but the thing that I wanted to look at when I was looking at Rainbow's gameplay and at all the decks he used throughout that weekend was he has so many, he uses all meta decks, which is going to be pretty obvious. All these players are going to be using meta decks and just using it better than their opponents. But with Rainbow, he always does just 1 or 2 switches to the meta deck. He'll use use, you know, instead of Monk Hog EQ, he's going to be using Mighty Miner Hog EQ. So he does a lot of little things when it comes to deck selection that a lot of other players don't, which is why I really like his gameplay, just because you don't really know what to expect even when you see those first 6 cards.
That's interesting. So it looks like we have a little bit of a Hog EQ versus a Miner Balloon deck, the Monk Miner Balloon variation. Monk definitely gets a lot of value in a matchup like this, as we can already start to see. But Rainbow does get that King Tower activation. Log and Mighty Miner ability trying to clean everything up. Goblins are forced out. Here comes the Balloon. And the Tesla comes down. How does the Tesla really change the dynamic of this matchup, Josh? I feel like that could be a huge difference maker here for Rainbow.
Yeah, he's going to be able to cycle quicker than he would with the Inferno Tower. And then obviously the Bomb Tower, while it does an okay job when it has the death damage from the bomb and it's going to push it away, but the Tesla is just going to be much more effective when attempting to stop the balloon, especially when you add the fact that the Tesla doesn't shoot itself or zap itself from the Monk's ability as well. So there's a lot of benefits to using the Tesla, and this is exactly what I'm saying. The first 7 cards from Rainbow, I would have automatically assumed, hey, this has to be Bomb Tower, even though it might have used it in game 1. And he just pulls out the Tesla. Like, this is exciting to see from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah, you make a couple great points there. Tesla not getting deflected by the Monk. That one little change here in the matchup is definitely going to pay dividends. We're hopping straight into a push from Vitor here. Look at this. Rainbow's got 2 Teslas on the board. First one does get taken out. Tower is being tanked by the Miner. But with the King Tower activated, he's got a very solid defense here. You know, we see Vitor up a lot of damage already, though. Once again, what does Rainbow have to do to come back in this match? Is there a strategy or some sort of push that he can create? Or is this game over, like, at this point?
Wow! Oh my goodness! Rainbow, that is just unfortunate that he tries to utilize the bomb from the Mighty Miner explosion and it pushes the balloon into the tower. So I'll also want to replay on that if possible. But yeah, Rainbow, he just needs to get really aggressive and not allow Vitor to start up these pushes. The Teslas plus Ice Spirit plus Goblins should be able to do the trick for most defensives. Just right now, it looks like it's just going to be too little too late.
He is getting a lot of chip damage left hand side. This push is looking pretty nasty, though. Arrow's going to come out here. Miner's going to get some chip damage on this tower. Free snowball. It's the Goblins. Balloon gets the death damage connection, and Vitor is just 1 arrow snowball away from finishing out this game. Rainbow's trying to make the comeback with the Hogger in the left, but a perfectly played Bomb Tower placement gets the King Tower activation and defends quite well.
Yeah, but here's the problem with only arrows and snowball. Does that do enough? Arrows? Does the snowball do enough? No. Snowball taking out the tower completely. Vitor going to come out with the 2-0. No smiles from him, even though that's what I directly asked. And 2-0, 2-0 to start the day. Some solid Clash Royale from our 2 winners so far.
Yeah, you say no smiles, but I see it creeping in.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
He's happy to win that game. GG's to Vitor. He played fantastically and got some pretty solid matchups overall. But like we saw in that last game, I think Rainbow had a shot to win that matchup. It's just that small mistake at the very end there with the Mighty Miner bomb not knocking the balloon back and knocking it forward towards his tower instead. I think that was the big difference maker there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really get to comment on it all that often, just because these are going to be the best players in the world going at it against each other. But it felt like there was a lot of macro mistakes from Rainbow. It felt like he shouldn't have gotten as aggressive as he did. It felt like he shouldn't have used 8 elixir on the push, and he should have kept it down to 6 right there. Great replay, getting the tower all the way down to 950. And then, I mean, in this, he's down 2,000 HP with 2 minutes left in overtime, and he makes 1 good push, and he gets the tower down to 1,000 HP. If he had done a lot of things differently, I really think he could have won not just one of those games, but he could have easily just flipped that and won 2-0 had he played better potentially.
Yeah, I mean, the macro, even the micro, Overall, like we talked about, I think Rainbow got a couple decent good matchups here. Looking at the decks, look, I mean, the Phoenix, the only air targeting card in this situation. One good giant skelly balloon plus Phoenix Bush is really all he needs, but Vitor played so fantastic, just pressuring throughout that match, never giving Rainbow the opportunity to make that play. You know, we talked about this one a little bit. Is there like a specific play that Rainbow like could have made here to make this game a little bit closer? Like you talked about the macro a little bit. Like, is there something that you had specific in mind?
I just felt like, I can't remember what it was exactly, but I think it was just early on, he either wasn't, I mean, it feels kind of like a blanket statement at this point, but it's either he didn't get aggressive enough or he got too aggressive. I kind of forgot what it was exactly, but I just noticed there was a few times where I thought, hey, I mean, just... You can't allow the same thing over and over again. It feels like we saw a Monk Musketeer guards push 3 or 4 times, and he just always felt like he was, Vitor always was just in his own groove, and Rainbow was kind of playing into that. So there were a few things I saw for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, Clash Royale is a game where momentum matters a lot, and it seemed like Vitor just constantly had the momentum, constantly was attacking. It seemed like Rainbow was always on that back foot. Andrew, is there any big specific things that you noticed that we didn't really talk about, or any thoughts on that match?
That the snowball can do more than 7 damage is what I noticed. That was the big thing that stood out to me. We can take a look here at our bracket as I kind of talk through this. I think what you guys say is really correct as we look at our first 2 matches in Mr. Cena and Rainbow. Obviously, we have our first upper semis between Mo and Vitor. Excited to see that. And of course, at the bottom of your screen, we will get our first eliminated player in a couple matches. We're going to give Mr. Cena and Rainbow time to reset. I think what you guys say is really, really important and something that, like, all people, if you're new to watching the competitive scene, need to just kind of put in their back pocket to think about is you look at the way that these guys play, and there's sometimes players do stuff at the highest level, you're like, oh wow, that was a great play, I would have never done that. And there's other times you do stuff, you're like, wow, that is so insanely aggressive, how could this possibly work out? And then they end up being fine, right? And I think what you're saying is really correct in that Rainbow and Mr. Cena gave their opponents in Vitor and Mohamed Light way too much respect, right? I think it's really, really important for you to play your own game. And like you guys said, they just played Vitor and Mo's game. What is not going to happen is in our next matchup between Mugi and Ruben is exactly what we're talking about. We have 2 former world champions, 2 veterans of the game. They've been at the highest level time and time again. They are the type that are going to play their game. Now, they have different styles, right? Mugi is a very consistent player all the way throughout. Ruben is a lot more passive in the beginning of those first 5 minutes, right? Maybe for 3 minutes, maybe for 4 minutes, Ruben will just sit back and look at how you defend, how you attack, and then he'll change things up and get hyper aggressive in those final moments. But that's also the Ruben of old. Ruben kind of fell off the map once he won in 2020. He showed up in 2021 at World Finals. He got eliminated early on. And then in 2022 and this year, he's just been kind of hanging out. Top 50 in CRL, top 100, top 32. He just hasn't really shown up. So guys, now that we're here once again, and this is that, I mean, if you want to know who won, just show them playing against Morton and you'll know that they won. He got 2nd place. I love you, Morton. I hate to say it, but any thoughts on you guys here with Ruben? It's been a long time, or Mugi. I know, AC, you're a Mugi stan. Go ahead, boys, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, if this wasn't already a matchup, this would have been my answer. It would just be Ruben against Mugi would be the best matchup in the world. So I am very excited to sit back and watch. All I have to say is that this is the matchup. This is just kind of one of those matchups that I've been waiting for, and I didn't realize I was waiting for it. Like, I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, eras collide here. Juicy thoughts?
Sorry, I was just going to say, I mean, we looked at our predictions for today. We all picked Mugi, but I think out of all the matchups today, this is probably the closest one. And, you know, we just saw at the beginning there, Ruben's face cam, and he looks locked in. Like, I was scared looking at that guy. He was staring at the camera there. I mean, I think he's ready to go. I would not be surprised to see kind of a bit of an upset here with the Ruben comeback.
Yeah, exciting matchup here, and while AC is excited for it, he's going to sit back with his popcorn at, you know, 7:30 a.m. Nice morning breakfast, and he's going to watch this match as GC and I, we are lucky enough to be on the cast. 2020 World Champion, bottom of your screen with Team Queso, and then, of course, Era of Everyone, Mugi, top of your screen, 2021 Solo World Champion, beating Mohamed Light in those finals. Remember that very, very well. And here we go. Birds out in both directions.
Birds out, but completely different decks. Mugi here with an Electro Giant deck. Seen him kind of use that a lot lately. We got Ruben with the Monk and Royal Giants. Overall, the matchup is in favor of Mugi. E-Giant usually going to beat a Royal Giant deck. Monk will help him out a little bit, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're really kind of speaking your language here, Juice. We're going from your old win condition to your now new favorite win condition, although the decks are a little bit different than what you play. And Ruben plays a fisherman, a very ill-advised fisherman. I mean, you know, we both knew it was E-Giant. Fishboy pulls that right to the tower. Bowler going to get a good lineup shot here? No, but, I mean, there's so much on the board. Ruben getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, this is insane. Golden Knight Dash is going to connect to the tower, and that is me tower down. Actually had the opportunity to play this deck a little bit yesterday, the Bowler E-Giant deck, and this is exactly how most of the matches go. You can actually be so aggressive in the single elixir just by stacking up that cage in the middle to start it off, just kind of banking up some elixir. It's kind of like an elixir pump in a way, just saving up that 4 elixir Goblin Brawler for later. Super aggressive E-Giant in the bridge, and Ruben just cannot hold on.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy when you look at how good of a player Ruben is and how quickly Mugi was able to look at that matchup, like you called it on the cast, Juice, and just go, all right, I know exactly how I can make him hurt. And Ruben had no answers. I mean, you could see him at the bottom of the screen kind of shaking his head, just going, what happened? Really felt like he left himself hanging out to dry, and it's because of exactly what you mentioned, Juice. It's not an elixir pump, but it is 4 elixir on the board that you kind of forget about in the math of maybe setting up your attack or defense. And that Brawler came through for some brutal damage, and also that Fishboy pulling the E-Giant in. And now Ruben just stacking everything up on that right-hand side.
Yeah, this is beautiful gameplay from Mugi. At this point, he's just trying to hold on and defend for the next couple 15 seconds. No, yo, check that off the list. What is this? Double E-Giant on the tower. He's going all in here, just abusing this matchup to the fullest. Golden Knight Dash getting on the King Tower. And this is going to be an absolutely dominant victory for Mugi.
And I think what's really important here, Juicy, is you look at Ruben's camera, you see the big sigh, the fluff of the hair. Like, he's frustrated right now. And what I really like what Mugi did there is he did not take his foot off the gas, right? No one likes getting 3-crowned, and Ruben just got dominated. Like you said, he just ran that, he abused that matchup. And I think that does something to your confidence moving forward, especially because that game was won in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never would have thought about that, you know, just applying even more pressure there, saying, okay, a couple more seconds, I probably would have 3-crowned you. That's got to hurt the mental a little bit. As we hop into this second game of the best 3, guys, we have a Hog EQ mirror matchup. Earthquake's out from both players. Looks like a pretty similar variation. I mean, may the better player win here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to look at it, and we'll see. Right now, Ruben obviously going to try to bounce back from what we just saw. There's a little bit of a change up. We see the Firecracker and the Musketeer, and you know, I think, at least in my opinion, the advantage goes to the Musketeer, but also those Firecrackers going to be difficult to get to. Thoughts on that, Juice?
You know, that's a great question. I mean, the Musketeer overall gets a lot of value in a Hog EQ mirror matchup just because Earthquake Log can't kill it, whereas Earthquake Log can kill Firecracker. But on the other hand, look at that Firecracker. So much damage, getting Mugi a massive damage lead already. Once more, there is kind of a double-edged sword with the Firecracker. At some point, Ruben will be able to get an easy King activation, and that could help on the defense. But looking overall, I would say, you know, Mugi's in a great spot so far, just being up so much damage.
Yeah, these mirror matchups with Hog EQ can be really, really frustrating in the sense of going down early can be like, that can be the whole entire game. But that being said, one Hog connection can do so much damage to even things out. One thing like that, you see right there, Hog gets pushed to the side. Mugi's bomb tower does not pull it. Musketeer on the tower as well, 3 shots in, and we got an Ice Spirit that needs to be dealt with. No, wow, lucky there, the bomb tower takes care of the Mighty Miner. And then the Ice Spirit just comes in for a little bit of chip. And that's, I mean, that's literally, as I was saying it, one Hog hit comes through. That was a lot more than one.
Yeah, we need to replay that. I don't know what happened there. I think the Mighty Miner must have pushed the Hog Rider further to the edge of the map to bypass the bomb tower there. Huge plays. Free snowball come from Ruben as well. Not going to be enough to connect. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what Mugi has to, or like what Ruben has to do to come back in this situation. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I love how aggressive that was from Ruben just there. Does get a hog hit in, and then we got 2 firecrackers on the board. It felt like he didn't need to send that much down the the right-hand lane after getting that big of a hit. And just like that, Mugi able to almost even things up.
Oh my god, the perfect bomb tower placement here, just outside of the range of the EQ. Gonna barely keep himself alive. Ruben up about 400 damage here as we head into overtime. Whoever takes this tower first will be taking this game. Mugi needs to win this game to win the best of 3. Ruben needs to win to force that game 3, the final game of the set.
Yeah, Ruben trying to stay alive, and there's that interaction that you were talking about. Could be a big kind of X factor in that hog, or the EQ plus the log to take care of the firecracker. Really no way to take care of the musketeer, and that's a huge hog hit. Mugi knows that that's basically going to be game. Now it's just about spell cycling and controlling the board. There you go, Ice Spirit to pressure Tesla on the board. Just need to get another another snowball, an earthquake in, and we're going to game number 3. You love to see it.
You really do love to see it. I mean, like we talked about, this is probably the most even matchup. I love to see the game 3 coming out. You know, a lot of the time I'd say Log has the kind of matchup advantage in that mirror matchup, but Ruben kind of proved me wrong there with the snowball. The snowball on the offense to kind of slow everything down, knock back those goblins, allow for so much connection. Also, snowball on defense versus Hog Rider is fantastic as well. Ruben kind of a masterclass there in game number 2. Here we go, game number 3. Mugi at the top, Ruben at the bottom. What kind of decks are we looking at here?
Just like Tornado, Snowball when used correctly and Lightning, honestly. When you see the 3 of those spells used to their utmost ability, that's some of the most fun to watch in the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like Snowball's so underrated. The directional knockback ability is just so huge a lot of the time. Ruben here.
We've seen our pros go to it a handful of times today. Go ahead, Juice.
Yeah, just kidding. Ruben here. Gotten what looks like to be the Magic Archer Wallbreakers NATO versus Mugi with the Skelly King RG. I'm trying to think about the matchup overall. I would say that generally, I would say Mugi has the advantage just because Ruben doesn't really have a big spell. So dealing with that Mother Witch and the Zabbies could be really tough.
Yeah, this deck is a tough one, man. I mean, obviously, there's versions of this deck that have been at the top of the game, and, you know, we've talked decent about it on broadcast about how at World Finals in 2022, the pros were using the Valkyrie version of this deck, just because it's like the best way to get ready for big matches is to practice the micro interactions over and over. And I just don't know about playing this as your kind of like stay alive deck in a matchup against someone like Mugi. It feels like you're really going to just outplay him the whole time is really the only thing you're banking on. But I mean, this deck is good for a reason. We'll see if Ruben can do it.
Yeah, we definitely see a lot more minor poison than we do a minor Magic Archer NATO in CRL. Generally just kind of going back to one of those things where it's just like this is kind of a ladder deck instead of a competitive deck.
Yeah.
Just one big mistake could put Ruben in the dust here.
Yeah, and right there, you know, something that we've seen a few times today is just that Mother Witch not against a big spell, and how do you deal with her, and how does your opponent abuse that? You know, will he do what Mo did and just start stacking them on the board, or will she just pop up every now and then to just take Spear Goblins and Wall Breakers off and just create pressure?
Yeah, that's a great point. He definitely gets a lot of value versus those cards. On the other hand, Mugi's got that Fireball. He's going to use that on every single Magic Archer. We're not going to see that card get much value in this game.
Yeah, and that's really the card that, at least in my opinion, Juice, needs to just kind of live on the board when you're playing this deck. You should always try to have a Magic Archer down, and there you go. Magic Archer back in cycle, played up high now. That way he doesn't get any Princess Tower damage. Maybe trying to bait out if you want to throw a Fireball at the Bomb Tower, but not a good decision. And there's our first lineup of the day. Magic Archer getting a lot of value here. No Fireball and cycle. Here comes the counterburst from Mugi. We got an RG on one side and a Skelly King plus Skelly King ability. Ruben's pretty low on elixir here, but he's doing a fairly good job of defending. Yeah, really like that defense. Maybe a late log coming in. No, it goes Magic Archer instead. I mean, just like what I just said, that's the smarter play. Get the Magic Archer on the board. Now you got more to clean up. Log does come through late. He does get the King Tower activation, but this Mother Witch is getting so much value as well. Skelly King at the bridge, applying a lot of pressure. He doesn't have enough for the RG yet, but this Barbarian and the Peggy locked on the tower. Fisherman pulling, now comes the RG. Skelly King ability is going to drop. And the ability is still there. There's the ability. Yeah, this is trouble.
Spear Gobs on the defense, a log as well. Does he have enough for the night? Mother Witch spawning even more pigs, and that looks like game over.
I think that's it.
Or Andrew, sorry.
It's just one of those things. Yeah, no problem. It's just one of those things, man. That Mother Witch starts getting value, and if you're in a close game, obviously close games come down to tower damage, but when you look even deeper at it under a microscope, it becomes more about the elixir advantage. And that Mother Witch really just tilted that scale massively at the end there, getting that value over and over again. And then, you know, as we were talking about, those fireballs, just seeking out those magic archers. The magic archer, the most important card in that matchup, and just not able to get value.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, the fireball always on the magic archer, and you kind of need that magic archer to deal with all of the swarm of the Mother Witch and Zappies and stuff like that. And like you said, that Mother Witch just always playing at the bridge seemed like it got infinite value.
Yeah, and here we go. We're looking at game number 1. This was, I mean, you can see right there, we're a minute and a half into regulation, and Ruben is just beside himself, wondering what on earth happened. Juice, you called it out that, first of all, the matchup very heavily in favor. This is kind of a newer version of E-Giant that's been out there, and then, of course, the insult to injury at the end of the game. Let's get a second E-Giant down. Let's try to triple crown you. Let's see if we can pull it off. Doesn't actually get it. And then we go into game 2. This was the push right here. The Hog gets pushed to the side by the density of the Mighty Miner and the Musketeer.
Yeah.
And then because of all that weird interaction, Musketeer ends up on the tower. That one play is what sent us to game number 3, because Mugi made this very close. And then we get here to game 3. There it is. Mother Witch right at the bridge, Juice.
Yeah, Ruben not getting the night down in time. He tries to get the bomb tower there to try and push the RG back, but he stays locked on. Fireball comes through to finish it off. Mugi 2-1, sending Ruben to the lower bracket. Continuing on, we're looking at some stats here. Let's look at the matchups overall. And yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you talked about it a little bit. E-Giant just kind of overwhelming here. I think one thing that we didn't really talk about was the fact that the Monk doesn't really get much reflection value. Only reflects that bowler. The Cage, one of the best counters to the Monk RG.
Yeah, that's a great call there. Going on to deck number 2, we saw a very similar look from both players, a little bit of swap outs. And while we did have a conversation about the Musketeer and the Firecracker and the Log and the Snowball, it really did come down to just the Snowball and that one send that you guys saw on the replay. That body weight, that push, it can happen, whether it's in the air with minions in a balloon or what have you, on the ground with an RG or a Hog. It can happen, and it's always devastating when it does. Going on to game number 3, this was a fun one. I just don't know if that deck on the left-hand side that Ruben played, unless you are top 3 in the world with that deck, just don't know if you play it in competitive, unless it's maybe against someone that is maybe a little more inexperienced, right, than Mugi. Mugi's the type of person that it feels like the wall breakers, for me at least in that matchup, were a non-factor, period. And then the Magic Archer with the Fireball, I mean, that's something that you kind of expect, right? But the wall breakers just didn't really get any value, and that, at least that's how it felt for me through that entire game number 3. AC, welcome back to the broadcast. How'd you feel? You were a big Mugi stan. Ruben was also a person that had a lot of stands back in 2020. How'd you feel about what we just saw?
You know, it was a pretty solid set overall. Ruben overall played pretty good, but one thing that I noticed that I used to not really see is that sometimes it feels like he doesn't know the next card that his opponent is going to play. Sometimes he's playing where he's totally thinking about the overall matchup, but then he doesn't predict that his opponent is going to finish him in over the bridge and yank the Magic Archer. And then it becomes this huge snowball effect that before he probably would have thought about. So that's something that I really want to pinpoint for him. And if he can clean that up and fix it up, and that's going to come into play when you just play in more monthly finals, then we're going to really start seeing success from him.
Let's take a look here at our bracket as we kind of piggyback on that point. It's a really great point that you make there about that, because those Magic Archers started to get played up higher because of the Fireball on Princess Tower value. But then, like you said, the Fisherman is just seeking it out, and that's something that maybe a coach can be in your ear about. So Ruben, our 2021 world champion, down there in our lower bracket. Deroy and Rainbow we'll see in just a moment. Ruben is waiting for his opponent. He'll play the loser of Pandora and Air Surfer, which is up next. Mugi, Mo, Vitor. They were at World Finals all in 2022, and right now they are in our upper bracket. Gentlemen, you were both very excited about Air Surfer being here today. Pandora, you know, it's something we haven't really even talked about. Technically, third place could get you a golden ticket today, or I mean this weekend, right? Technically. If Pandora and Mo end up in first and second place, you just need to get third. So that's something that I feel like all these guys, Air Surfer, Ruben, you know, Moogie, are thinking about. Thoughts on this matchup? AC, we'll go to you first. You've been a longtime fan of Air Surfer there. He's been pretty quiet in 2023, but he's still been grinding. Any thoughts on him?
Well, actually, I was going to make a comment on Line as well, where it's just the historical... It feels like whenever Air Surfer plays against anybody, there's a lot of history behind the two players playing against each other. And Line is the biggest player in the entire world when it comes to just a rivalry between two players. But now him and Pandora are also having a similar rivalry where they're playing each other over and over and over again. And this is a great camera view of Pandora.
He's like, oh, crap.
But I just love that we're seeing budding rivalries, and two great friends going against each other is always a joy to watch as a spectator.
Yeah, I remember when Pandora, like, the first time I saw him, I think I was standing near Air Surfer, and he was like, oh, and I was like, no way, Pandora's excited to see me. And then he just like went right past me to chat and took a picture with him. It was pretty humbling. He did ask for a picture with me later. I think it was probably on like day 7, but you know, at least I got one with Pandora. All right, here we go. Juice, we'll come back to you in just a moment. AC, it's you and me. Air Surfer bottom of your screen, Pandora at the top. And one thing, it does look like Air Surfer just got a workout in, which I love to see. It's probably bright and early where he is. Pandora on the other side of it, I know we were laughing at him hanging out on camera, but I think just seeing already the calm in Pandora, knowing that he has a golden ticket, it was very, very evident in that quick screen grab that we got. And even his posture right now, he just seems like he's chilling.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just gotta help so much with their gameplay every single time you go against somebody else, when you know you're okay, you're only playing for money. There's nothing else to worry about. You don't have to worry about that world's placement. So that's just got to be massive for him. And on the other side, Air Surfer does have to be a little bit nervous. This is his first monthly finals. He hasn't had a ton of success. If I can remember correctly, I don't know if I even saw him on the top 16 list when it came to the leaderboards through point accumulation. So this is just really massive for him to get off to a good start, and that requires a winning his first set overall in this monthly finals.
Yeah, Air Surfer at 29th right now, so obviously going to get some points no matter where he ends up. But like you said, AC, this is a really, really big month for him. And, you know, like I was just talking about a moment ago, Pandora and Mo already have tickets. This is a really great month to kind of capitalize on.
So both players leaking Elixir right now. Air Surfer going to be the first one to place a card down. Monk in the back going on the right side. In response, Giant Skeleton just to kind of clean things up and just delay the game. Sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes that's just the exact play you need to make.
Archer Queen, the only champion we haven't seen, I think, so far today. Oh, wow. Wow. Really? Really? Pandora, you're going to do that to me right here, right now on broadcast. I see.
Air Surfer should be able to clean this up. Can he get the Monk off correctly?
Oh
my.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my. Wow.
I thought, yeah, we both thought the same thing. Monk maybe gets pushed too far back. AQ locks on tower. GG, well played, but instead, Air Surfer gets away. I don't know if he got away with one. I mean, technically, it did exactly what he wanted, but 25-54 to 27-30 could have been a lot worse.
Finally getting a little bit of offensive pressure. Miner going in the front and adding in the arrows to that push. So getting a lot of value with that. And so, I mean, he's just going to have to continue to cycle the Miner and arrows and then eventually warm up to a balloon push. But right now, I mean, he can't really set up any offensive pushes. He's just kind of waiting around until he sees a mistake from Pandora, which is actually something I love. From the balloons gameplay that we've seen so far today, people are getting way too aggressive with balloons. So this is a masterclass on what you're supposed to do with this deck.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you point that out. That's something that I was thinking about when I was watching both those Balloon matchups, is they were just looking to get Balloon on tower. They weren't looking to play good Clash Royale. What you just see the AQ getting pushed in front?
Yeah, I love Air Server's gameplay. Nobody else would be trying to pull that off, and he just whips it in front of the giant skeleton. That is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like what you talked about before broadcast. Did you mean to do that? Because that was insane. And yeah, AQ gets pushed in front, kind of kills the whole push right there. Hog will still get a hit. No, last second bomb tower comes down while Air Surfer takes a big swing on the left-hand side. 2205, 2107, still the lowest tower, but now he's got damage in both lanes, which does make those balloon pushes just a hair scarier.
And the guards...
And Musketeer on tower. No.
Oh my goodness. The guards were able to get one shot on top of the Ice Spirit because the Ice Spirit was placed one tile too close to it. So that's really, really massive, but it ended up not mattering. That was very close to being detrimental to Pandora. And I mean, right now, both players are playing so well, we might not even see a Loon placed at all. There is potential for that to happen because sometimes that's just how the matchups get played. Archer Queen...
She's on the tower.
Luck, though. We need to see a Loon now, potentially.
And there it is, just like you called it. Jack knows, or Air Surfer knows he's got to get that balloon in, but of course, Bomb Tower going to come out. Musketeer too low to get on top of that Bomb Tower. Miner getting some great chip in, and Balloon might get death damage? Maybe? Yes, it does, and the second Miner.
Wow. That is how you play Balloon right there. You don't place it at all until 22 seconds left in the game. That was probably my favorite game of the day so far. So many little things done by both players, trying to get aggressive, trying not to allow your opponent to balloon. You finally get that one push in, and then now you have to protect. That was just beautiful gameplay from both players.
I mean, what you're saying is 100% correct. When I play, whether it's in ladder or GCs, 3 wins in, when I start playing against better players with Balloon, you'll recognize they just try to control the game for as long as they can and look for one mistake or triple elixir, right? As soon as that starts to come in, keeping up with that cycle, keeping up with those balloons, 2 miners on the tower, all that becomes insane. And if you're playing against a confident Loon player, they know, I just need one balloon hit. That's it. I just need one balloon hit because I've been keeping you within striking distance for 5 minutes. Air Surfer putting on a masterclass, as you said, as we get into game number 2 here. Pandora does have a golden ticket, but I don't know if you guys saw on camera there, after losing game number 1, he took a big breath in, and now the competitor's coming out.
Air Surfer looking to probably just use the RG deck that's really popular. And then on the flip side, Pandora should just be using the E-Giant deck. Not a lot of variety. We are seeing a lot of Balloon, and I'm not totally used to seeing that in these monthly finals. And that's pretty much the only variation. We're still seeing a lot of E-Giants, still seeing a lot of Miner, Wall Breakers, all of those decks.
Yeah, Hog EQ been really popular as well. Yeah, like you said, Balloon is really the one thing that's been showing up on Royale API a lot, and here in our June monthly finals as a very viable win condition. I kind of like that ability there just because it's pulling so much attention from Pandora. So look at all the elixir on the board, and he's just ticking now to 5. What's he going to do about this left-hand side other than just eat a lot of damage?
RG taking the tower, and it gets the last shot, taking the tower all the way down to 903. Great play overall, and just in such a good spot. You have the Tombstone, you have the Zappies, and your opponent has E-Giant and Lightning. What are you supposed to do in this situation?
The defensive capabilities of the Mother Witch also is something that I feel like have always been overshadowed by her offensive capabilities, but the fact that that one Mother Witch essentially was able to stop that whole push just because the piggies stall you, right? The piggy gets spawned and it stalls your push, and then another piggy gets spawned and it stalls your push, and she doesn't do a lot of damage, but the ability to control everything defensively there was insane. I think it was literally just a Mother Witch and a Bar Barrel that killed a Bowler, a Phoenix, and there was and the Brawler.
Yeah, I love that point, and I 100% agree with you. I didn't even really recognize that until you said that out loud. And I just love that call because you're right, the Mother Witch, it provides just enough on defense, and then that immediately becomes more than enough once it starts stacking those hogs one after another.
So right now, 2 basically untouched towers for Air Surfer, who got a massive swing in early on. It was really the Skeleton King ability coming out that just baited so much out from Pandora, and then Air Surfer just goes, I know you've probably got 4 elixir, I'm gonna go RG at the bridge.
And I love that Air Surfer is going on the right side. He knows that the bowler is placed on the left, and the Skeleton King doesn't really match up well against that. So what's his option? He can go on the right side, always defend with a bar barrel on top of the bowler, and then just defend easily enough on the right side once the Skeleton King has forced out the ability of the Golden Knight. A lot of players are going to go into the same lane, and that's not how you're supposed to play it, which is why he chose to split lane pressure, even though he has the left tower down to 643.
Yeah, and that's something that like you have to find yourself doing, or else you're just going to run into a wall over and over again, and you'll wonder why your 2,000 HP lead just went out the window. And this pressure opposite lane is really, really crucial. Nice cleanup there, although gonna need a little bit more love as Air Surfer on top of that bowler plus Golden Knight. Mother Witch plus Barrel come out and deal with it.
And it feels like he can get away with not necessarily the cleanest defenses ever, just because the Zappies and the Mother Witch, when they're spread out, are just so valuable and so strong on defense.
And finally, a little bit of tickle there on the tower from the E-Giant, but not going to be much. 25-52 as that Zappy extends the distance there, brings that tower down to 421. And that should sew things up. 12 seconds remaining. Does go to Jack here. Air Surfer, 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, this was a very, very clean set overall. I don't know. This is one of those sets where you can kind of take a look at every single move that's made by one of the players and just try and find mistakes. That was as clean as it gets from Air Surfer right there.
Yeah, and you know, it's the type of thing where we saw Vitor earlier today going up against Rainbow, and we were talking a little bit about like, oh, is Vitor in full fighting form? Is he where he was at the end of last year? The competitor in Rainbow, not to, you know, talk trash about him or anything, but the levels are very different. Just we can even just break it down to experience. What I love what we just saw is a 2-0 win against someone that's got a golden ticket already. So you're playing against someone that has nothing to lose. And like you said, AC, I mean, Air Surfer played both of these games really, really perfectly, macro and micro. There was literally one AQ connection in that game that we just saw, and then here in game number 2, I mean, this is really what it was. Look at how much is on the board on the right-hand side, and there is a Royal Giant on your tower on the left. That's the whole story right there. And then Air Surfer plays perfect defenses. He recognizes the spell difference. He recognizes that I mean, I was just going to say, look at all that squishy stuff piled up in the center of the map. You got Zappies, you got a Tombstone. Sometimes he'll throw a Mother Witch in there. There was just no way for that lightning value to come in for Pandora. Great deck picks and great plays from the American.
And so I also have one more thing to say on the game 1 overall.
Oh no,
one of the
Pandora. No. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing that I really, really liked from his balloon gameplay, and I'm sure some people saw it, but some people didn't, he used the miner on offense with the balloon in that final push, but he used the balloon in front of the miner. He allowed the tower to target the balloon because he was just trying to get chip with the miner. He goes in with a snowball and then the arrows on top of the guards that were placed on defense from Pandora, because miner was the win condition. Even though it's miner loon, in this specific matchup, he recognized early on that the way to win it was with miner chip damage, and I loved seeing that.
Yeah, cherry on top was the death damage actually coming through. And yeah, I mean, AC, I agree with you, man. When people have a strong win condition in their deck and they win with their secondary or third win condition, I always love seeing it. The win condition comes out maybe once, maybe twice. always so cool to see the recognition there of the macro. Then game number 2, well, if you recognize the macro, another thing that would make you a great player is recognizing the elixir difference between you and your opponent. Pandora just really overspent there in the beginning, and Air Surfer was really able to capitalize on that. So we have our very first round in the books. Juice, obviously you were sitting back watching Pandora Air Surfer. We saw some E-Giant, we saw some Royal Giant. I know that you love those. Anything that stood out to you in that matchup?
Yeah, and that specific one, you know, it's the one Royal Giant version that does quite well versus E-Giant because you got the Tombstone, the Zappies, and the Fisherman. You know, with that being said, I think it's definitely possible for Pandora to win that one. There was a couple opportunities where he needed to go for the tornado onto the Fisherman, but he got it down late, especially the one instance where Air Surfer actually got a successful King Tower activation on the E-Giant. If he got a tornado down on that Fisherman, I think he could have connected on the left side for some massive damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what you got to do, right? When you're going against Fishermen in that matchup, your NATO work really needs to be on point to kind of even things out and give yourself a shot. Let's take a look here at our bracket. As I said, we're halfway through our day. Yeah, we are. Look at that. We made it, boys. Halfway. We got a few more matches coming your way. First, we got to say goodbye to a couple players. Will it be Mr. Cena / Deroy or Rainbow? And then we got Ruben and Pandora. Big ups there. I mean, honestly, if you're thinking of sticking around in the competition, you want Pandora to win. You want Pandora to go all the way through that lower bracket, and you want Mohamed Light to go all the way through the top. Like I said, third place can get you a golden ticket if things line up the way you want. But Mo Light and Vitor, Mugi and Air Surf are all playing well on the day, and as you can see, only one game dropped by our winning players there, and that was Mugi and Ruben, which was, I mean, kind of what you expect. I guess the other one was you would have maybe thought Pandora could take one off of Air, but a great set there from the American. As we get into the second half of our day, we're going to go down to the lower bracket. Deroy and Rainbow, they've had time to sit back, reset, and, you know, when you talk about nothing to lose, you've already been 2-0'd, you were already an underdog, now you really got nothing to lose and only money to gain.
Yeah, I think that's you and I, Andrew. I think we both picked Rainbow here, but Josh, you picked Droy. I wanna hear your thoughts and like your reasoning behind that.
Yeah, I mean, wow, both players. Oh, okay, it's most used card. I thought it was favorite card, and I was gonna find that very interesting. But I really am a believer in Droy's gameplay. I really think it all comes down to matchups in his first set against Mo. And I'm not saying he would have won if the matchups were flipped, but I will say I really liked what I saw from him in that first set. Even though he lost, and even though he lost in quick fashion, there was a lot of positives that could be taken away from that first set.
I mean, you guys talked about it. That's really what it was in our first two sets that we saw, where Rainbow and Deroy were the unfortunate losers of. It was just about them not playing poorly, but just not really playing Clash Royale at the level that you need to beat the guys that they're going against. I chalked it up as too much respect. You know, you can chalk it up as nerves. Whatever it is, this is where you need to go. I need to go comfort, and I need to play like I'm playing on ladder against Joe Schmo. Stop giving your opponents too much respect, even if they're the best in the world. You know, Rainbow maybe got a little aggressive, whereas Deroy, it felt like, and to kind of maybe piggyback here on AC of maybe the pick, it felt like he just got lulled to sleep by Mohamed Light. I feel like there was a little bit of a difference there.
I think the other thing to talk about is just the fact that Deroy, as AC mentioned, can be influenced by tilt. So I think that's one factor here that we could see make a big difference here. I believe we are going to be letting go of Andrew. So Josh, let me know what you think about what this potential mirror matchup. It kind of looks like a drill mirror matchup. I guess Deroy could have minor.
Yeah, actually, okay, I think he's probably gonna be okay. Well, I should have just got the words out because then I would have been correct. Yeah, so I think he's probably gonna be using minor, and this is probably just gonna be the bomb tower variation. So it's probably gonna be very similar, except it's minor instead of drill. So really, that's what you have to take a look at when you're analyzing this matchup overall. Which one is better in the mirror matchup, and then which one, what's going to be your big spell? Are both the players going to have Fireball, or is it going to be EQ? That's the things we got to look at. Just big spell or minor versus drill, which one can do more damage?
That makes sense. I would say overall, Miner is a little bit more consistent as a win condition. Also, Poison does a little bit more damage than Fireball when we're talking about those spells. So maybe Droy has a bit of a match advantage, not to mention those wall breakers. Wall breakers, kind of a secondary win condition, allowing for some nice damage already here on the left-hand side.
Really solid Spirit Goblins, even though they didn't get that much value. They did allow for the bomb tower to get the splash on top of the Mighty Miner and the Musketeer, so that was really solid. But a pretty good sized lead right now. Wall breakers to take out the Goblins. Do the Goblins get any shot? No. So Droid defending that interaction quite well. With 1 minute left in the game, Droid is down by 400 HP, but both players have played fairly well overall. Not a lot of mistakes from either player, just kind of feeling each other out right now.
Magic Archer here for Droy. That is going to be a third kind of secondary win condition. Could be seeing some Magic Archer lineups to try and make this comeback. I really like these high Musketeers from Rainbow as well, just preventing the poison value at the same time. Rainbow doing a good job of holding on to his damage lead at the moment.
Yeah, and right there, a really fun log from Droy. You can do that all the way in the back because it's still going to be able to hit the guards. And I'm pretty sure he might have even gotten the timing down where the Goblin spawned and then he got the log on top of that. So a really nice log, and one that we don't often get to see, where he just places it really, really early.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think he did get that good timing on the Goblin. Here comes the Miner plus Spirit off the right-hand side. Musketeer and the Mighty on the defense, and no poison coming out from Droid. That makes me think that this last card from Droid might be something else. Maybe it's even a Tornado along with the Magic Archer. You know, you really think that he would have gone for the poison on Musketeer if he had it.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I've been waiting to figure out what that is. Fireball going to come down on top of the Magic Archer and the Mighty Miner as well. So we see the wall breakers in the back. Not going to provide any value whatsoever because the bomb tower is up, but it feels like he's doing a lot of great things, but I don't know if he's just going to be able to get enough damage. It feels like Rainbow's doing such a great job of attacking and then utilizing the fireballs on top of the Magic Archer to not allow for any kind of offensive pressure.
Musketeer does not kill the Mighty. Ice Spirit's forced out. Here comes the Minor Wall Breakers combo. Bomb Tower is going to do a pretty good job. But overall, looks like Droid's actually taking the damage lead here. Here comes another Miner with the 3-card cycle of the Mighty Miner. Mighty up high. I think Rainbow has figured out at this point that Droid must have a Tornado for this final card. Rainbow needs to use his Mighty Miner plus some Fireball spam to this triple elixir to get this comeback happening.
Good timing on the log right there. Spirit Goblins on the left side, applying pressure on the left. Wall breakers on top of the right. Can't he defend it all? Musketeer should go to the right one. It does not. So left tower down to 1100. And then Droid, he is quickly just defending everything perfectly. No offense from Rainbow whatsoever. He's going to have to combine a little bit of fireballs on top of the tower. Not going to matter. Magic Archer gets 3 shots on top of the tower.
Wow. Tornado finally gonna make its appearance here, getting even more Magic Archer damage. I mean, I would have never expected this outcome. Droid just absolutely dominating, winning by over 1400 HP here for the first game of the best of 3. We're hopping into the second one. I mean, I would not be surprised to see a quick 2-0 sweep from Droid after seeing that performance there.
Yeah, that was a very special performance from Joy. And I mean, look, the great thing about players, when they tilt easily, they get overconfident easily, but not the overconfident where they start making mistakes. It's just, hey, I believe in myself. I got one game. That's all I need to change my mindset and believe in myself again. So that alone could start something special and actually have him go on a run just because he gets one game. That's the fun thing to see in players that tilt easily, but are also just overly emotional. But they can, if they can manage it in a good way, a lot of good things can come.
Recruits at the bridge. First time seeing Recruits Piggies today. Usually we see the Giant Skelly variation. Droy, you know, a little bit of a newcomer, a little bit of an underdog, maybe gonna be pulling out some decks, you know, we don't normally see. Going against Rainbow with the Skeleton King RG variation. I'd say Rainbow overall is a pretty solid matchup here just because he's got that Fisherman for the Golden Knight. He's got that Fireball most likely as well. If he doesn't have the Fireball though, it's going to be very difficult for Rainbow to make something happen.
Right here, Golden Knight should be able to dash on top of mostly everything. I was thinking that it was going to go to the Fisherman first, but it does not. So no Golden Knight dash on top of the tower. Tower down to 2,600. So in that first push, he used the Royal Recruits at the bridge, and he had a Flying Machine with about 10% health. I was thinking that maybe he could get the Royal Hogs down in time, and I think I would have liked to see him do that. But at the same time, we always talk about players, the macro versus micro. Should they delay? Should they actually go on offense? So I want to talk to him and see what his thoughts were on why he didn't get that first offensive push in.
So I made a bit of a mistake here. Actually, Rainbow used Fireball in his first game, so he has to use Lightning this one.
Oh,
which is going to make a huge difference, right? Because now the Zappy has so much value. The Flying Machine also just going to be super hard for him to deal with. See Droy shaking his head a little bit, but as long as he makes good plays here, he should be able to win this matchup. Rainbow's got quite a David and Goliath situation here, where it's going to be very, very difficult for him to break through.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, first off, I do like the idea of getting that Lightning in just because you struggle so heavily with the Flying Machine, but it's just going to be so miserable for him. All he has to do is put Zappies in the back, Flying Machine in the back, Royal Recruits in the back, and then, I mean, if you have a Golden Knight on the floor, then you're only looking at a 3-card cycle anyway, so then you can start cycling them again even earlier than you usually could. So a lot of positives in this matchup, and really all Droy has to do is put the Flying Machine on the board. That's the most effective way to win this matchup in Droy's end.
Good call outs. Lightning coming through from Rainbow. He's doing a great job of trying to kind of mitigate the advantages using that Lightning. We come with a Mirror Recruits in the back. Skelly King is going to be on the board to try and deal with this. Let's see if Droy can spam some Zappies and spam some Flying Machines here to make it happen.
So I like the idea of using the mirror in this deck, but one thing I would like to see, and I think we're going to see that in Triple Elixir, is using the mirror for the arrows, because double arrows will be able to take out all the Zappies and then most of the Fishermen as well. And then also on the Zappies, I really like that idea from him. You need that extra defense, and that's what you're going to get when you have 6 Zappies on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this push was looking scary, but 6 Zappies in a cage on the board. Here comes the Recruits to the bridge. Huge counter push. Let's see what Rainbow can do to defend this. Barbaro is trying its best, but the Piggies come out on the left-hand side. I'm wondering if he's going to have the mirror arrows like you talked about earlier for this offense. There it comes. Piggy's getting so much damage, and Droy finally using that matchup advantage to strike for some massive damage. I'm not sure what Rainbow can do to make the comeback here.
Yeah, he just needs to put the Flying Machines, the Zappies on the board. This is really aggressive, though. So this is the one way where it could actually spell trouble for him. We are going to see the Goblin Cage come down in time. Lightning will come down as well, so Archie is going to get a shot. 1293. Oh my goodness, he gets that second shot. I was so worried about that being over-aggressive, and it actually was.
Wow, I mean, that's a great call. Super over-aggressive. RG's come through. Mirror Cage was not down in time. RG connects for another shot. And we're heading to a game 3, ladies and gentlemen, against all odds. Rainbow somehow takes the matchup here, despite all of the advantages in Droy's favor.
Wow. I mean, when you take a look at that matchup, the first numbers that come to your head are 80-20 and 90-10. It is so advantageous for Droy's side. All he has to do is not get over aggressive and cycle. I mean, just cycle, really. It really comes down to he got overly aggressive. And, I mean, that's what we're going to see. If you're a rookie, you do tend to make those mistakes much more often than the players that have been here before, even though Rainbow's pretty new to this as well.
Phoenix on the wall breakers here with the E-Spirit will stop the wall breakers. We see a Mega Knight minor wall breakers from Rainbow. We got Droy with a Roll Giant variation. Interesting matchup overall. You know, I'd say it's fairly even. I'm excited to see who is going to come on top here. Maybe Droid with a small advantage just because of the E-Spirit for the bats and some good wall breakers defense as well.
Yeah, depending on what the matchup is, because I think it's usually going to be the Hunter variation that is going to have a lot more success in this matchup. But he has the E-Spirit for the bats, and that's going to be pretty massive. And, I mean, he's going to have RG and Lightning. So all of Rainbow's defenses are going to struggle quite a bit. We see both of the wall breakers connect. Really, Droid's game plan when you're using RG Lightning is just going to be kind of play slow until double elixir, and then you can start making RG Lightning pushes. So I'm hoping he doesn't play a lot of RGs at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, but at the same time, maybe it would be beneficial with the Prince Out Cycle. Queen kind of blocking up this lane entirely, though. Ability's going to pop and clean up the egg and the Fisherman. Here comes the RG Bridge. What do you think about this play? Is this too aggressive?
Because we're heading into double elixir, I don't technically mind it, but you see the frustration from him right there. You need to make sure that Archer Queen is dead. That is so massive, and now he just does not have that much elixir. The Mega Knight is going to go to the tower, but that Bandit is on top of the tower and doing so much damage.
Yep, Droid calls the good game. Tower is going to drop. And, I mean, I think you nailed it, right? It's just the over-aggressive and the single elixir. The Queen did not die. The counter push was just too much to deal with. He has to wait the double elixir before going for the RGs. Queen ability going to be defending quite nicely here on the right. And there's just 33 more seconds until Rainbow is going to be continuing on and Droid is going to be out of the tourney here.
Yeah, I think with Droid's takeaway needs to be that he did a lot of things great, and then there was just a few things that he absolutely needs to work on. And I think just matchups are going to be the thing that he actually really needs to work on to make sure that he can, you know, get that next step in where he can actually compete with the best players.
Matchups, but just once again, going to that over-aggression, I think that last two games there, you know, were definitely winnable, but just the over-aggression with the Piggies matchup, and then the RG, the bridge, and single elixir is what really was kind of his kryptonite, just putting him in a very, very tough spot.
Yeah, and it also puts me in a tough spot because now I think you're in the lead. I think Andrew and I have both now. Yeah, so happy for you. So yeah, here we go. We take a look at, I believe this is game number 2. And yeah, I mean, it comes down to getting overly aggressive. There was a lot of things that he did right and a lot of things that he did wrong. And Rainbow, I mean, it comes down to capitalizing on mistakes. I'm taking the viewpoint of Droid a lot, but on Rainbow's side, he did everything right. He got incredibly aggressive when he could. He places the Bandit, the Mega Knight at the bridge. Oh, my opponent allowed my Archer Queen to stay alive. Every single time Droid made a mistake, Rainbow punished him for it. And that was a beautiful way. I mean, that's how you win these kind of games, just punishing mistakes. And he found the mistake every single time.
Absolutely. Maybe with a little bit of micro, the over-aggression could have been avoided there at the very end there. I think the Skeletons plus E-Spear on that Mega Knight Bandit combo, if actually correctly done, like he could have probably pulled both of those to his King Tower. Maybe that is a small difference maker. Looking at game 1, you know, we saw a very interesting matchup. Droid taking the win here with the Magic Archer NATO. A little bit of a weird variation, but overall, Droid just played perfect micro. Game 2, you know, we saw that RG, very tough matchup. Droid just a little bit over aggressive. And the RG, I mean, this RG deck is just one of those decks where if you're too over aggressive, the Skelly King RG push with the Skelly King ability is just one of the best punishes in the game. Talk to me a little bit about game 3, Josh. I mean, if we did not see the over aggression in the beginning of the single elixir, like, do you think Droid could have come out with a W here?
Yeah, so I believe Mega Knight loses to, I used to have a saying where it was like Mega Knight loses to RG, Golem, and one other meta deck at the time. And so really, I mean, you take a look at it, it's going against RG, Quick Cycle, oh, my Mega Knight will always go to the King Tower because he has skeletons and E-Spirit, or my Ghost in response for the Bandit, or Fisherman in response for the Miner. Droid has all the answers you could possibly need in order to win that. It really just comes down to he didn't have good enough micro. You talked about it with the skeletons. E-Spirit pulled to the King Tower. He messed that up. And I mean, it was just game just like that. If everything had been done perfectly, I think Droid walks away with a victory for sure in game number 3.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I mean, Andrew, let me talk to me. Is there any big things that we didn't talk about that you kind of noticed in that match?
No, I think you guys covered all the bases. I just think the biggest thing is just to kind of echo your guys' sentiment once again. I did it last time I came back on broadcast. Is just, we've seen for years now, players see that light at the end of the tunnel and it's like a misguided light. Just wait, you'll get there. You're on the train. You're already on the path. You don't need to jump the gun. You don't need to shoot the gap. You've already won the game. But so many times they get excited. They get ahead of themselves. They think that they can win. They see the finish line. They go for it. And then, I mean, that's literally what happened in both those games. The AQ stayed alive in game 3. Why? Why would you even push into that? There's no reason to do it. Things like that. It's just you get a little excited. You get a little ahead of yourself. So let's take a look here at the bracket as we have finally said goodbye to our first player. $1,000 in the pocket there of Mr. Cena Rainbow, guaranteeing himself at least $2K and a big W for me and Juicy there in the predictions. Yeah, I think you're right, AC. I think Juicy's in first place. It's ridiculous is really what it is. And then you see Ruben and Pandora up next. We're going to be seeing that matchup in just one moment. And of course, we'll be saying goodbye to one of them as one of them moves on through. Mugi and Air Surfer will be the last matchup of the day. And of course, Mohamed Light, after starting off 2-0, him and Vitor have been hanging out for quite some time now. 4 wins, 0 losses between the two of them. One of them will be sent down, though, to that lower bracket. We'll see who it's going to be in just a moment as we get back to Ruben and Pandora. Now, we've obviously seen everybody at least once here today. Any thoughts? Either one of you can kind of jump out from what we saw. Do you have, we obviously put in our predictions in our Slack channel here, and it looks like we all went for Pandora. Why, guys? Why is it that we're going Pandora? Ruben was able to, and there's Pandora. He's back in the zone now after dropping his first match of the day. Why is it that we're all kind of picking against Ruben right now in this moment? He had a rough game 1, but it did feel like he kind of bounced back. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would think the biggest thing is just Pandora, pretty dominant already so far. He's already gotten a golden ticket. Watching Ruben's first match, he played well. It just wasn't, that high level world champion Ruben that we saw a few years ago. And I think overall, just looking at that, I think Pandora's just a little bit in a better form here.
Yeah, that push really was the, in game number 2, Ruben, I don't want to say he got lucky. It could have been an orchestrated push that pushed that Hog Rider out of range of the bomb tower. But if it wasn't for that one send, Mugi was able to get that game very, very close. It could have just been a quick 2-0, but instead, here we are. One game was dropped in our first 4. Ruben was the winner of that, even though he is in the lower bracket. Here we go. Ruben, top of your screen, world champion. Pandora, going to be at World Finals again here in 2023. We saw him last year in 2022. Now dialed in, not wanting to get eliminated.
Looking like a Royal Giant mirror matchup off the bat. Ruben 100% using Royal Giant since he's got that log there. Not going to be the Piggy's deck. Overall, the Monk is probably the biggest difference maker. The tanking ability is going to be huge, but at the same time, not a lot of reflection value. Phoenix, no Hunter variation. Phoenix did not get any reflection since it does have that melee attack.
Pandora comes out with a Firecracker here. Kind of an interesting variation.
Ghost at the bridge trying to take out this Firecracker, but RG's going to come at the bridge to protect. I really like this play. Ruben has to defend here. It's not looking easy.
2 shots, but does get the King Tower activation there, kind of looking into the future for when that Firecracker did cross the bridge. And now Ruben going very aggressive, misses the Fisherman pull with the Skellies, I think is probably what he was going for, if the Fish Boy was high.
And there's going to be another 2 shots from Ruben. So players kind of, going shot for shot here. Overall, I would say Ruben's in a little bit of an advantage here with that King Tower activation. Doesn't get a lot of value versus RG, but he is up a little bit of damage as well.
Yeah, Really, it'll come down to that King Tower helping out with maybe some monks, maybe some fish boys if they do get that far across the bridge. But yeah, RG clearly out of the range. 23-89 to 23-22. Very, very evened up here. We'll see if the difference in cards, which way it favors the difference in the match here. We got obviously Firecracker and Monk at the bottom of your screen. Top of your screen, Phoenix, Fishboy, Royal Ghost.
Here comes the Royal Giant at the bridge with the Phoenix, Ghost, and Fisherman. Espirit trying to stun everything on the defense. Fisherman pulling in range, but not getting the RG in range of both towers. So RG is able to get some nice shots because of that.
Yeah, I mean, Pandora keeps going for it over and over. He wants that kind of 2-tower damage as opposed to pulling it opposite lane. But, you know, if you don't get both towers on, you're in trouble. And now Ruben having a lot of trouble as that RG connects. Fireball comes in, 1440, 1592. Still not out of reach by any of these players. 15 seconds remaining here in regulation.
And I think I was a little bit wrong about when I said the King Tower not being very useful versus Royal Giant. This is one of the only situations where it could be. As you talked about, the Fisherman being able to pull that Royal Giant in both ranges of tower is actually going to be helped by 3 towers now. So that might, you know, be a good difference maker here. Here comes a double Royal Giant push from Ruben, though.
Wow, and then Pandora's Fisherman just kind of, I don't know. I don't know if he was trying to get it to play double duty and pull the right and then maybe pull the left, but it kind of just does nothing there. 978 though on that bottom left-hand tower as Ruben takes the lead for a moment, but Pandora should get it right back. 2 Royal Giant shots in.
1 minute, 30 seconds left on the clock, but my guess is someone's going to take a tower before that hits 0. Fisherman in the middle here trying to distract this Firecracker. Monk at the bridge trying to get a little bit of chip damage on the left-hand side. And we're seeing how that could become a difference maker. Now, just a couple fireballs away. It's Ruben's turn to a counterattack. This Firecracker,
yeah, he needs to go in.
Best.
And a big pile up here at the bridge. Fisherman just dropped right on top just to play tank here. Phoenix and Firecracker, the DPS makers, and big shots in there for Ruben and a naked fireball on the tower. He's just going for that cycle race, which it is an RG deck, but as you guys can see with Logs, Skellies, and E-Spirit, very easy to get back around. RG shot comes in. Oh my goodness. Ruben almost pulling a rookie mistake there. Pandora just, what, two milliseconds away from that second RG shot coming in?
I mean, that was a great play with the Firecracker to distract that Fisherman and give himself a shot to win that game. Just, yeah, like you said, milliseconds away. But Ruben, Fireball is going to come out. GG's. We're hopping the game too. I mean, a fantastic first match there. Royal Giants out from both players. Here comes a miner from Ruben. Let's see what Pandora has to defend that after seeing guards. Let's see, most likely going to be a Hoggy Hue versus a miner balloon deck here.
All 3 of us picking Pandora to win this matchup. Down a game right now. Ruben looking to play upset for us, and honestly, upset for everyone else in the tournament. Keeping Pandora and Mohamed Light in is a win for as long as they can stay. And Cannon Cart cycled in the back. I mean, I know I took last month off, but 2 months ago, Cannon Cart was everywhere. Haven't seen much at all of that card here today. And Mortar, yeah,
not going to be Balloon. It's going to be a Mortar Cannon card, maybe Spam deck. Maybe we'll see a Skeleton King, thinking Skarmy, stuff like that.
Yep, exactly.
I know you're kind of a fan of decks like this. I mean, overall, how would you kind of rank this matchup here?
You know, it's tough because I actually don't really love playing these versions. I'm really much more of like a minor poison lean on with, or bait, like a lot more bait cards. This deck, like you said, has Skarmy, has Minion Horde. I like it. I just think that you can end up running into trouble like later in the game, especially if you're playing against a great player. I think right now the biggest thing is like how you going to deal with the Musketeers, and then your opponent has the same question of how am I going to deal with the flying machine. So I think because there's no big spell in either direction, it's going to make it a little bit more interesting. We'll just have to see. I honestly don't play this enough to know this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it makes some really good points here. I'm not sure about it either, but you definitely pointed out the big kind of difference maker in the matchup. It's going to be the glass cannons, the Musketeer versus the flying machine situation. I think overall, Ruben has a better chance of protecting that, just because he's got so much swarm, like the Skelly King ability, to kind of make sure nothing locks onto that flying machine.
And I think the other big thing is that cannon cart. The cannon cart is going to give you so much map control, being able to push one lane while defending the other. The mortars can be used strictly for defense. And then your opponent really just has the one tank and then the guards. So, you know, creative bomb towers are going to have to come out. But right now, Pandora just putting in a lot of good work with those muskies.
Here comes the Mighty Miner Hog Rider push. Mortar going to come down the last second, going to prevent that from locking in the tower. Ruben holding on to the damage lead. And that's another thing here, is just holding on to the damage lead is all he has to do at this point, and this counter push is looking brutal as well.
Log comes in, does take care of the cannon cart just in time, but Flying Machine gets on tower. Guards are a second late, and Pandora in trouble here in game number 2. Man, that Flying Machine is just getting tanked for forever.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. The Skelly King ability just makes it so nothing, including the tower, can lock onto that Flying Machine. It just takes the tower all the way down to 783. And Ruben's looking like he might just kind of get the upset here and take out Pandora here. I mean, it's going to take a miracle for Pandora to come back. It's definitely not impossible with the Mighty Miner 3-card cycle with the Hog Rider, but I mean, as long as Ruben plays well, it should not happen.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. I mean, that Skarmy becomes really, really impactful because you don't know when he's going to play it. And just like that, right? Skarmy comes down last second, no time to log, no time to Earthquake. You don't want to pre-Earthquake or log because knowing, you know, your opponent, that'll be the one time that he decides to change up his defense. So just a really tough spot for Pandora to try to, like, create offense. Ruben just the luxury of being so far ahead in the lead.
Here comes the pre-EQ and the pre-log. Ruben knows those are through. A lot of damage overall. Maybe Pandora's looking at a comeback here. Ruben needs to use those mortars on defense more, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he had a defense that had been working out for him well for a while, which was just mortar and then cannon cart and then create a push off that cannon cart. And right now, he's kind of just making a lot of poor elixir decisions.
Yeah, something, right? Because a lot of damage coming through, Earthquake cycle, and this match is a lot closer than we would have thought. But here's a big counter push, double Flying Machine, cannon car on the board, Miner on top of the Musketeer with the pre-arrows, not gonna hit the guards. Law comes through, Musketeer does stay alive, but these Flying Machines are a huge threat still.
Wow, that Musketeer just was the saver, the MVP there for Pandora. Still alive, protected by the bomb tower, protected by the guards. Now a Hog gonna come in, needs to catch that Miner. Miner goes to the front, no Ice Spirit. Log is, or excuse me, EQ is in. And just like that, Ruben able to take both games back-to-back 2-0 win. He puts all of us on blast because we all picked Pandora there. And I mean, that was great. That was a great game. I mean, it felt like it started to slip for a little bit, and then he got back to form defensively, doing the things that he needed to do. What he was doing before was baiting out those Earthquakes with the mortar, you know, and stacking Flying Machines. Those Flying Machines, there was no way to get to them. You just need to have more of them on the board, and then your opponent's spending a lot more elixir on defense and a lot less on creating offense.
Yeah, you just made the point that I was going to at the very end there. Maybe that big push with the double Flying Machine, the cannon card, the Skelly King didn't connect because of Pandora's perfect defense. But what it did do is it ran down that clock. He was so focused on defense, he had no opportunity to go for the Earthquake cycles or the Hog Riders. And Ruben just coming out just by one Earthquake log away from just barely winning that game.
I know. I mean, that's I think the biggest thing to kind of take note of in these two wins from Ruben is that, you know, he's what, 15-20% away from being where it felt like he was in 2020. There's just a little bit of mistakes, right? A little bit of macro mistakes, a little bit of maybe not thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead like your opponents are. He's still that good, though. He's still able to beat Pandora. He's still able to take this set 2-0. He's still got it. It's just he's got to clean up some of those interactions. You know, I think coaching is a big part of it, and I think just getting reps in. But right now, Ruben, not quite in his final form, but playing really well.
Looking at the replays here, we saw that Flying Machine with the massive connection. We saw the solid defense with the mortar at the end just to clutch that up. And he wins by about 200 HP. You see the celebration, you love that. I mean, overall, a 2-0 sweep from Pandora, or from Ruben against Pandora. I mean, this is very surprising. None of us predicted it to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see Ruben continuing on through this loser's bracket and potentially winning golden ticket? Or do you think that is just kind of a little bit too far-fetched in this scenario?
There's just so much in the top half of the bracket, right? Like the only person that didn't stay in the top half of the bracket that was a world finalist last year is Pandora. Everyone else is right up there. You know, you got Mo, Vitor, Mugi, and Air Surfers. So I think Ruben has a good shot at it, but I just think the things that we're kind of talking about, and we can kind of move through these decks as we're just talking about the game, that the decks really weren't that big of a conversation. I guess maybe in game 2 it felt like the gap widened a little bit with the flying machine and the cannon cart. Those cards both not being able to get taken off the board really made it very, very difficult. And then obviously the overspend that you'd need to throw down to get on top of those archers. So to get back to your question, Juicy, could Ruben do it? I almost don't even want to say maybe, but I mean, definitely, right? I mean, he's Ruben. He is that guy. I just think it's going to put in a lot of work. You know, I've seen players talk about on Twitter, like, if you've never been in the top 10, you're never going to get first place. That's just the way it works on ladder, right? I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's basically what they're saying is like, you got to put in the reps and have that mental fortitude of losing over and over and battling to get, you know, that grinding. You guys know, you guys have been there at the top of the ladder. It's an insane grind. Ruben needs to get back on that grind if we want to see him work through this. I just don't know if he has it right now. We'll see. Let's get into our bracket, though, to catch you guys up on where we're at on the day. I think that's what we said. Bracket predictions. Who knows? There we go. Ruben, Rainbow moving forward. Deroy and Pandora are both gone on this month's competition, but Pandora doesn't matter. He's already got a golden ticket. He's already walking away, I think, with like 12 or 13K on the year. And obviously, if you qualify for Worlds, you get a nice paycheck for being there. We got 2 more matches left here today, and it might look a little bit like World Finals. All 4 of those players hanging out in the 2022 World Finals at Clash Fest in Helsinki. Mo Light on top, just like he's been for over a year now. Vitor, Mugi, and Air Surfer all waiting to see if they can take down the top dog. Like I said at the top of the show, it's not about who can be best in the world. It's about who can beat Mohamed Light. So here we are on predictions. And stupid Juicy, he's only been around casting for a year, and now he's first place here in our predictions. There's really no way to come back now. We all got the same picks coming through. The only big upset right there, match 6, Pandora getting taken out by Ruben. Mo Light and Air Surfer are our picks for the rest of the day for our last 2 matches. Guys, what does Vitor need to do to beat Mohamed Light? Or is it just like, you know, or is it might as well ask you, how do you win the lottery?
Yeah, Juicy, you go first. I'm not taking this.
You know, Mohamed Light, so good. We talk about a lot of the time of how to beat him. You need to get a good matchup, and you need to play either as good as him or better, which a lot of the time is impossible, especially with a very good analytical team behind Mohamed Light. I mean, at this point, you know, Vitor, he's been to the World Finals before. Like, he's definitely got the experience and the nerves down. He just needs to, I guess, go for like comfort, try and get a decent matchup, and just play to the best of his ability and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is all correct. I mean, I think the biggest thing that you can do is, you know, what we talked about earlier on in the day is just, you know, with Deroy and Rainbow and Mo and Vitor as their first competitors, you know, you cannot... You have to play Mohamed Light like he's the best player in the world, but mentally and confidence-wise, you have to think that you can beat him. That's really what it is. You have to give him all the respect of micro and macro and elixir management and all of that. But at the end of the day, you have to go, I'm better than him, and I can beat him, which is so hard to do. I mean, you know, it felt like as it ramped up over the last 18 months, it was like his name just became more and more and more threatening as the year went on, or as his career went on, whereas, you know, the first few times it was like, oh, Mohamed Light, he's supposed to be good, or, oh, everyone says he's going to be the next best player. Now it's just, oh, crap, it's Mo. How do I win? And that's not the mentality you can have. There you go, just getting in that last little bit of water. Got to stay hydrated if you want to be the best. AC, you've been mighty quiet because I know there's not really anything to say on how to beat Mo, but...
Well, actually...
You got to do... Okay, excuse me.
Are you ready for this? So...
Hey, I'm ready.
When Clash Royale first started competing, and a lot of these semi-pros were, you know, starting to compete and try and become actual pros, well, everybody was friends, right? So we would all have each other's numbers. And so what you would do was during a competition, you would call your opponent, so that way they would get phone calls and they wouldn't be able to see their screen. So there is a way to beat Mohamed Light, but I don't necessarily recommend calling your opponent to try and get a win that way. Just saying, there's ways to win it though.
Wow. I mean, I love it. Yeah, I mean, if you you gotta innovate.
How much of a competitor are you?
AC and I are going to be on the cast for this. Juicy's going to be making phone calls to Egypt relentlessly for the next several minutes to see if we can even things out here for Vitor. And right now, Vitor in the lead. You know, obviously very early on. Mohamed Light coming out with Miner plus. I mean, this I saw him playing a version of Mortar the other day that was kind of like a throwback with Valkyrie and, you know, Fire Spirit instead of Ice Spirit. But I think still, even after the nerf, Ice Spirit is still just the better card. And I think it might just be it again.
Yeah, we could see that Earthquake coming out. Log plus guards will be enough. Does defend that just correctly. And it is looking like it's going to be one of those minor mortars. So with no Earthquake in cycle, I would not be shocked to see a mortar come out from Mohamed Light. But no, just going to cycle the Archer Queen in the back and try and set up a push. Try and set up the mortar with the correct responses around it.
Yeah, this matchup is really interesting, right? Because I find this matchup to be a lot more easy to manage than other Hog EQ matchups when you're playing Mortar, just because the AQ and that 3-card cycle can get so much value. Just the Earthquake, you cannot deal with the Archer Queen. How do you abuse that as best you can? And then, of course, the Guards Plus is always a really great defense. And you saw right there, Mo did Guards plus Log, Guards plus Ice Spirit. They're all going to work.
Yeah, right here. I love what Mohamed Light's doing on defense. You can't use the mortar on defense when your opponent has the Earthquake, because then you're giving him way too much value. So I love that he's responding with the guards plus Ice Spirit. Archer Queen getting a ton of value right here. Archer Queen taking out the Musketeer completely. And again, no shots. He's just continuing to use the same defense until Vitor forces him to switch it up.
And then just not a naked poison, obviously cleans up the guards, goes for the -1 trade there, but an Ice Spirit comes out, so they end up find themselves even. Valkyrie for Mohamed Light, responded to by this Mighty Miner, and you know, right now it's really just Mo goes, I'm really happy to just keep Miner and poisoning until you can make something happen, because we all know what happens in that final minute of gameplay with Miner Poison and a champion. So, you know, Vitor is going to have to do something, and even just this Mighty Miner going opposite lane innovates a bit, right? Now the guards are unavailable for the next push in a perfect world. So now Hog comes down, now Mortar has to get played, so then EQ becomes more impactful. So it's just those small adjustments that Vitor is going to have to make. He knows that. He knows he can't do the same thing over and over. 1958, 2037.
Yeah, that's a really good call out with forcing the guards out of cycle. I would have liked to see Mohamed Light do just a 2-1 split. It would have been possible for him to defend it a little bit better. And instead, all that pressure happens just because he doesn't make that play. He doesn't go for the 2-1 split. All forces out all the guards to go on the left side. And just like that, somebody actually made the outplay against Mohamed Light, and it's just whether or not they can actually finish the game this time.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to what we were saying before, right? It's like, I feel like if it was on ladder, Vitor would have maybe done the 2-1, but maybe because it's Mo, he gets a little scared. Right there, that's what you need to see. You go guards every single time, perfect. If he's going to keep doing it, what do? EQ plus Log. Let's take care of the guards. But that sets up the AQ now in the back for Mohamed Light. So, you know, Mo down by a lot right now, and Minor Poison has basically been the only way he's been able to get in damage, but Triple Elixir, we'll see how quickly he can get those Minor Poisons down.
Yeah, right here, 662 to about 1200 HP. Miner will not be, it does come down in time, so Miner plus Poison is going to be very valuable. Does have to watch out for the Mighty Miner on the left side. I think he can just get away with ignoring it though, so 442 to 713.
Wow.
And that's a waste of 1 elixir right there. You can't technically afford to use that like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's trying to bait something out there, but the thing is no matter what he baits out to catch that Mighty Miner, it just comes and helps on the counter push. So now you see the Valkyrie.
Oh, he gets the shots.
He did, and he knows it. Wow. That's what we're talking about. You have to play a perfect 5 minutes. You make one mistake, you're ahead by 800 HP. Mo knows how to come back. It's just always so impressive, man.
Yeah, that is, I mean, he placed a Musketeer too high. He used 1 elixir incorrectly on the Mighty Miner. and then he didn't cycle quickly enough. I mean, in a 5-minute gameplay, there's 2.5 mistakes that are made, and even that is just too much. It allowed Mohamed Light to come back from a seemingly impossible situation, and we just see a smile on his face because it's not impossible for him. I mean, I do want to point out, those minor positions were placed absolutely perfectly every single time. He had 3 troops on the tower, and the minor was still hitting the tower instead of the troops every single time.
I know. And then, like, you know, when he knew when to pre-poison, when he did the late poisons, there was just so many things that it's always a masterclass. It's always a clinic. Anytime you watch him play any deck, you're like, wow, that's how it's done. And this is Vitor he's playing against, right? Yeah. This isn't just some random dude.
It's right here. This is going to be E-Giant going against Mega Knight. And Mega Knight struggles a lot. We see the E-Giant placed in single elixir at the bridge. And that's just an okay play to make because you have the bomber in response if he wants to get aggressive with the wall breakers. And then it's going to also clean up the Prince. So now he doesn't have to worry about that. I mean, E-Giant at the bridge in single elixir should not be a play, but when you've practiced every single matchup 80,000 times, you know what you can get away with, and not only get away with, but you know what's the actual optimal play in this scenario. And right there, the optimal play was E-Giant at the bridge.
And this is like a little deja vu. I mean, we've seen Mohamed Light play a matchup very similar to this, and he was losing it almost the entire time because I think this does become like a pretty tough matchup for E-Giant. But what he ended up doing was he played an E-Giant aggressive at the bridge and I think triple elixir, and then NATO'd the Prince to his side of the map so that the Prince was no longer, or excuse me, the other side of the map, so the Prince was no longer on the E-Giant. That was the way that the Prince was able to get on top of tower. I don't know if he'll be pulling the same fancy footwork, but he's been here before and he came out on top.
Well, you can tell he's trying to pull out the fancy footwork. He allows the brawler to go to the tower and not hit the Prince. So he must know this matchup fairly well to want to make that play. I really like what I saw right there. I don't know if it's the right play, but I love what I saw right there.
And trying to get on top of that Phoenix Egg is Vitor. Mo doing everything he can to protect it. A lot of elixir comes out. Now the bats are in front of the Bandit. Bandit should be very easy to clean up. And that helps, right? Because he's been having to use some kind of creative ways to defend those bats.
Yeah, and now it's just, oh no, it's not gonna matter.
Doesn't matter.
He still will force out the Goblin Cage right there. A beautiful prediction. Arrows does miss the bomber, doesn't get it off in time, but still a fantastic play right there. And that is a great interaction. That could be the interaction that wins him the game. This Mega Knight is not enough DPS.
No, Phoenix on top, and then by the time that this E-Giant goes down and the Phoenix and the Brawler, Mo should be back to another E-Giant. Lightning comes in, doesn't even need it. Wall breakers just to kind of pull things away. Goes for the predictive arrows again, but it doesn't matter. Bomber played up high, and there's that there's that look. We all know that look. If Mo looks at the camera, not quite smiling, but he's just like, hey, it's just by the way, I'm still here. He always does that look when he's like, all right, it's over. It's the Mo show.
That's hilarious. I'm going to be looking for that every single time nowadays because it's so correct right here. I mean, he just knows what he has to do. E-Giant into the push every single time, place the support troops behind it, and then, I mean, Vitor doesn't really have an option because even when he gets the prediction arrows, it's just not enough. He has the Gob Cage, he has the Tornado ready. It's just so difficult for him.
And there you go. Wall breakers do connect, and a Bandit connects. So finally, Vitor getting a little bit of offense on the board here, and he goes for a full send. Prince, it's all done. And E-Giant on the tower. GG, well played. Mohamed Light doing what he does best. There's just not even really a way to comment on his matches anymore. It's just like, we should just shut up so that people can learn. You know what I mean? And then whenever we talk about him, we're just saying the same thing over and over. He's just untouchable.
Yeah, it's sometimes I wish I could just watch the games. because there's a lot of things that you just learn from him. Even that final interaction, it's like, oh, you know, what's going to hit the tower? He only has bar barrel and cycle, and he has to kind of cycle weird in order to get back to NATO. Is he going to force out the bar barrel at the end? No, he can just Phoenix, NATO, bomber correctly, so that way it takes them out in time. There's so many pretty things that he does.
Yeah, his defensive sequencing has always been so impressive to me. His ability to like slow time down essentially and pick out, okay, these are the 5 things that are coming across the bridge. This is the most important one. This is the second most important, third, fourth, and fifth, and so on. And then he deals with them in that order every single time. I mean, even our producers are saying it feels like Mo's just playing with him. And again, this is Vitor we're talking about. This is world finalist. This is one of the best players in all of Clash Royale history. And like you said, AC, he's getting these predictive arrows. Doesn't matter. Since when is that a thing? Here's that defense you're talking about. It's just pretty. It's perfect. NATO late, bar barrel to soak up the shot from the Prince, Phoenix get on top of the Prince. GG, well played. Oh, by the way, there's an E-Giant on your tower because you just spent 13 elixir at the bridge in the opposite lane.
I mean, 50% of getting a golden ticket is just holding your breath and hoping you're on the opposite side of the bracket. It's so unfair on just that being one of the main components on receiving a golden ticket or going home without one.
Matchup of the day maybe was this first game here. It was kind of Vitor in the lead for most of the matchup. Mohamed Light only able to get damage from minor plus poisons until the final moments of the game. Like you said, Josh, 2.5 mistakes, if you want to even call it that, and the mistakes were very, very small mistakes. And if they were Mo playing him, it probably would have worked and it wouldn't have been a mistake. But just because of that, Mohamed Light comes back from a massive deficit, takes game number 1. We move on to game number 2, which you guys just saw. And once again, just the Mo show. I know this matchup. I know these interactions. I know when to be aggressive. I know how to defend. And Vitor just trying to, you know, I've said it before. I know you love it, AC. Just ice skating uphill, man. There's just no way to do it for Vitor in that matchup with Mo playing the way that he did.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to, he was doing so many great things. He allowed the brawler to get onto the tower so that way he could actually have a correct push. He was getting aggressive when he didn't have the right responses. He got the prediction arrows on top of the bomber 2 times in a row. And what did that receive? I think one of the arrows was forced to miss the tower so that way he could try and get the bomber. So it almost was worse that he predicted. So everything that he's doing correctly just played into Mohamed Light every single time. And it is so sick to see that when you're going against him.
Juicy, you know, I know you know that matchup with the MK Prince deck and E-Giant, and also I'm sure you've seen the other one that you saw. Anything that stands out that we haven't already praised Mo for or even given Vitor credit for? Because Vitor did not play poorly. He just got outplayed.
Yeah, I really want to talk about that first game. You know, Vitor, he played fantastic. I think he was up at one point over like 700 damage. It was like 700 versus 1400. But Mo just went for a masterclass. He went for Archer Queen in the back, got the 3-card cycle. Josh mentioned every time he played a miner, it got on the tower. The mind games on that was insane. Goes for the miner, goes for the poison, goes for the log, goes for ice spear. He's back to miner. He did that 3 times with the Archer Queen on the board. He was able to use the 3-card cycle to the max, using the ability with the Archer Queen at the perfect time to preserve the 3-card cycle. And he just got this insane comeback. I was like literally sitting in my seat, eating some breakfast, just like, what did I just watch? That was insane.
Yeah, and we've been casting at the highest level, playing at the highest level for as long as this game has been around, and still, every single time, it feels like Mo does something new. Let's take a look here at our bracket. We are going to get a matchup between clan members, if you want to call them, organization mates, Vitor and Ruben. They're in our 10th matchup. We'll see that tomorrow, both representing SK Kalalis. And one of them will move on, one of them will not. Will Ruben be able to stay hot, and will Vitor be able to bounce back from losing against Mohamed Light, which feels like if you're one of the best players in the world, you've got to get used to doing, bouncing back from losing to Mo, because you still got that lower bracket to work through. And remember, Second place does it. Third won't. Pandora is out, but second place will do it, as Mohamed Light has won every monthly final so far. Pedro not here, Pandora not here, so the golden ticket goes to second place if Mo is the winner again, but obviously we will not get there until tomorrow. One matchup left on the day, Moogie and Air Surfer. This is a fun one, and it is all you boys, so take it away.
So, if we take a look at the historical data, Moogie in the last 2 months of the monthly finals has finished 6th both times. So, in order to repeat history, he would need to lose this set. But if you look at the other side of history, Air Surfer didn't make the monthly finals at all, so he shouldn't have been here. So somebody is changing the historical data, and that's going to happen this set right here. I am so excited for this matchup because, one, I love seeing Moogie play. He's done so many great things over the course of his career, and he's still continuing to be at the top. So many players fall off for 1 year or 2 years, but he is not doing that. On the other side, Air Surfer played the best set I've seen in a very long time in his opening set right there. So excited about this. And here we go. Hog up top for Mookie, E-Giant for Air Surfer.
Yes, sir. Hopping straight into it. Giant Skelly Hog definitely going to have a pretty solid matchup overall versus Electro Giant, but Air Surfer might be using the bowler variation, which can change things up a bit. You know, having the bowler, cage, and the NATO for the Hog Rider kind of prevents any sort of breakthrough. Most likely, since both of these players can't really break through each other, it's going to be kind of a spell cycle matchup with the Lightning versus the Earthquake. Obviously, Earthquake a lot cheaper, the Lightning doing quite a bit more damage.
Air Surfer activating the ability. Golden Knight going to get the dash on top of the Ice Spirit and nothing else. Fire Spirit helping the Golden Knight, not going to get the Golden Knight to the tower, but it will allow him to clean up the guards entirely. So Moogie just going to use the Archer Queen in the back. No Earthquake in cycle due to him cycling on top of the tower with nothing else.
Air Surfer 100% going to take that Lightning value. Like I said, -1 trade, but you get that tower damage. Here comes the Giant Skelly for Moogie. Going to defend this brawler. Maybe he's going to set up for a good Hog Rider push. But Air Surfer most likely going to have this boulder in the back pocket ready to go if he does get that Hog Rider behind.
So now the question is, how does he want to defend? Does he want to try and get the Hog to the tower? That looks like that's not going to be the way that he uses it. Beautiful job from Air Surfer, because that's going to allow a Tornado to be used offensively, defensively. He just has it in cycle right now, which is important. If you can keep Tornado in cycle, you should do whatever you can to have that happen.
Gold in the back for the 3-card cycle. Lightning on the Archer Queen again. That's 2 Lightnings that Moogie has allowed Air Surfer to get. I think that's a huge mistake. You got to play those Archer Queens up high with anti-lightning placements. Here comes the Hog guards opposite, but the Boulder is just back in hand once again. Ice Spirit as well. Hog might get 1 hit max.
Yeah, choosing not to use the Tornado because he's going to allow both towers to be at 2,700. And right there, just choosing to use the Lightning on top of the tower with the Archer Queen. And I mean, this is great because it opens up the ability for him to swap lanes if he chooses to do so. So he can't just continue to use the Archer Queen in the back, which you talked about in the Mohamed Light. He was using the Archer Queen in the back, and that's why he won the game. So great adjustment from Air Surfer.
Absolutely, here comes the push, but the Giant Skelly Bomb hits the cage. Tornado's gonna be forced out. Log trying to hit a Fire Spirit here to break through. It's not gonna happen. Archer Queen ability trying to DPS this down. Here comes the second Hog though with the 3-card cycle. Does Air Surfer have something in hand to defend this?
Hog should be able to get a shot, and it does. 2369 to 2196. So Moogie does take the lead with that, and we could finally start to see what, I mean, just him setting up pushes. So far, it really just, he's not setting up any offensive attacks. He's placing the E-Giant, but that's just kind of to delay the game, not to really get an offensive push.
He goes for the E-Giant in the back instead of the bridge. I mean, it's an interesting call here. I mean, if he did go for the bridge, it probably wouldn't have been able to break through, so I respect this play. The other thing is he needs damage on the left-hand side. So with this play, you know, maybe he can get like a double E-Giant push going down as well.
Bowler putting in a lot of work, like always, going to be able to take the hog out before he gets to the tower. And we could see the E-Giant. Okay, so Golden Knight placed in the back, 50 seconds left. This is when we start to see the pushes go into action. Can he get the double E-Giant push that he so desperately needs?
Boulders on the defense are having counter push value as well. This Archer Queen is just demolishing this E-Giant, though, with the Tornado being late. Giant Skelly Bomb gets so much value in this matchup as well. Here comes a E-Giant on the right, trying to use the bowler to push to go straight to the tower. Mugi knows what he's trying to do, though, and he plays it high. Same lane, bomb tower placement. Lightning trying to break through. But like I talked about earlier, E-Giants really don't break through very much in this matchup. Ooh, Phoenix do. He's on the tower, and that's going to bring it all the way down to 13-15. And I don't think Mugi can come back from that.
Yeah, I don't think he can either. We're going to see the Goblin Cage placed up top. That's exactly what we see right there. Lightning in cycle, going to be placed down, 998. No chance for Mugi to win this game. Good game coming out from Mugi.
Wow.
And I mean, you can't get the E-Giant through. You can't get the Bowler. You can't get the Golden Knight with the Tornado. Well, the Phoenix has Air Surfer's back. Phoenix locks onto the tower to steal the game right there for game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Mugi's deck there for a second, he doesn't have any air targeting cards other than the Archer Queen. It's very hard to cycle back to her because she is a champion. Not to mention Air Surfer having the Lightning to deal with it. So really good play by Air Surfer, playing that Phoenix to the very edge of the map, trying to get it going towards the tower, and that's exactly what happened. Up into game 2, we have a Mother Witch on the board from Mugi. We have Air Surfer maybe taking a page out of Mugi's book here, bringing out some Hog EQ.
Musketeer placed from Air Surfer, and he's going to be using the drill variation, so we'll see it placed off to the side. Monk not activating its ability a little bit early, but a really nice usage of the ability from Mugi. But that Musketeer gets 3 shots already in the first minute of the game.
We need a replay on that. I did not expect that. I mean, I thought the Monk was going to be in range, but yeah, 3. Oh! Wow. The Monk's back in cycle, though. The log gets deflected, and so does the bomb tower. At this point, Mugi's up a lot of elixir here. We'll see what he does with it.
Wow, bomb tower with its last leg gets 1 shot off, and Bar Barrel does not get any damage on top of the tower. So pretty massive interaction for Air Surfer. And I mean, if he delays it 0.003 seconds, that Bar Barrel would have gotten a shot on the tower.
Fireball going to come out here, take out the tombstone and that pesky fisherman. Almost. I mean, the fisherman's still trying to look on this Musketeer if it can. There it goes. She does do a lot of damage, but here comes the RG, the bridge, kind of converting this elixir advantage. Monk ability, it does deflect the bomb tower. This looks like a massive push.
No Ice Spirit in cycle. It does not retarget, though, so that would have been just so important for Mugi, but not going to be the case. We see a drill on top of the tower. Is he going to use the fireball with it? Or no, just going to delay and not use the fireball. That is a lot of chip damage from the goblins. I think that got 500 HP worth of damage right there.
Air Surfer getting a little bit lucky with the true red, true blue interactions here. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, there is a coding kind of bug in Clash Royale where the map isn't completely symmetrical. Whether you request or don't request the match, you will be the true red or true blue player within the game code, and that changes interactions like that. Goblin gonna connect on the tower despite the correct placement from Mugi's Fisherman there.
Beautiful job. Fireball going to come down on top of the Mother Witch. That's the troop that he really needs to worry about. And right there, Fisherman, knowing its priorities, able to fish slap the Musketeer instead of anything else. And again, he uses the log, but the log gets reflected again because of the Monk. Not going to be a problem, though. Great defense, even though that could have been scary. But now we take a look at the left lane. He is getting, insanely aggressive because he has such a big advantage in terms of elixir and cycle.
Great Fisherman at the bridge as well, sniping out that bomb tower. It's going to lock on the tower, slow everything down. Fireball's trying to take the Mother Witch and the RG, but the Fisherman RG does so much damage, and Mugi bounces back after that huge drill connection from Air Surfer. He takes the damage lead. Now it's in Air Surfer's court here to try and make some sort of comeback.
I want to take hopefully we get a replay of that specific interaction because it was fantastic from Mugi, but also it was great recognition from Air Surfer. He uses the fireball instead of the troops because he had guards in cycle, but he knows that the guards would have been taken out from the Mother Witch, so he delayed it and used the fireball on top of the Mother Witch and the RG. So I really like that play from Air Surfer.
Speaking of great plays, I love these tombstone placement from Mugi here. Makes it very awkward for Air Surfer to go for the Goblin Drill. He's going to opt to going for Fireball Cycle instead. Musketeer does lock on the Mother Witch here, and the log just kind of cleans up everything. Musketeer goes down, Dappy's on the defense, but all of a sudden this game is very close with 35 seconds left.
Oh my goodness. Able to protect the Musketeer once again. Can the Musk lock onto the... Oh, it locks on, but then the log actually takes the Mother Witch outside of the range, so that's massively important as well. Monk going on the right lane, and that's a big mistake. You can't allow that to go on the right side of the lane.
This is one of the craziest bridge battles we've ever seen in CRL. Musketeers trying to be protected, but so are the Fishermen trying to pull. Zabby is the bridge. Fireball comes out from Air Surfer. He takes the damage lead. Can this RG connect? Drill on the defense. Fireball comes out. Piggy connects. Fireball from Air Surfer. Will RG get the shot? No, it will not. Air Surfer gonna take a 2-0 sweep versus Mugi, knocking him down to the lower bracket.
Oh my goodness, using the drill on defense, not having the bomb tower ready for it. We see a slight exhale from Air Surfer right there, and not the same amount of cleanliness as set number 1, but he did a lot of things correctly. And I mean, that is a minute and a half in overtime of 2 players trying to out-predict each other. Mother Witch, Fisherman, Musketeer, guards. Can he protect it? Can he not protect it? That is just beautiful gameplay in the final minute and a half from both players.
Yeah, that final bridge battle seemed like it lasted a lifetime. It was like 2 of the best tennis players just having a volley back and forth. Air Surfer just barely coming on top by protecting his Musketeers and being able to get those offensive fireballs on the tower while continuing to stall the bridge battle. That was fantastic plays from Air Surfer. Looking at the replays here, we saw that Phoenix connection in game 1 really secure the win for Air Surfer. We kind of talked about how the Archer Queen played a big factor in that.
Yeah, I really liked your comment. I didn't even recognize it until you said it, but I really loved your comment about the Archer Queen being the only thing that hit air. No snowball, no fireball, no nothing. Just the Archer Queen. And game number 2, this was a beaut. So many different beautiful plays right there early on in the game. Musketeer able to lock on. And I mean, everything was getting so crazy where I could stop myself from saying a comment just every half second because there's something new. There's something else that's going on. And right there, fireball on top of the tower, fireball on top of the other tower. Can he get the log? RG off the tower. I mean, both players played that so well.
Honestly, one thing at the end there that I didn't even think about was the use of the drill on the defense versus using the bomb tower. I feel like using that bomb tower, would not have worked as well as the drill. I think the drill, people don't realize it has so much health. It just, the fact that the lifetime is very short is what people don't realize about it. But that drill just really solid on defense. There was a huge game-breaking kind of idea from Air Surfer here.
That is such a great insight right there. I mean, the drill has to have more HP, correct?
I honestly don't know. I'm gonna look it up right now while you talk about these decks.
Okay. Game number 1 happened. Game number 2, it was just bridge battles galore. The Tombstone was a great adjustment from Mugi. You talked about it earlier in the game. Places the Tombstone back where he can't get fireball value on top of it, but then it also allows for the skeletons to continually spawn, stop the drills from going in on offense. And I mean, really, it came down to Mugi was utilizing the monk so well. So many times he was getting reflections back on the troops on top of the bomb tower, and Air Surfer was somehow, some way able to come out on top. I have a direct answer from Air Surfer. I said, why did you use drill instead of bomb tower? And he responded at the end, I don't know. So we don't have any incredible insight to give you guys. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you make the right play, and right there, it worked out for Air Surfer, and he made the right play.
It does have more HP. It does. It has like 100 more HP. So Air Surfer could just say that's why. I mean, bro, that last 90 seconds of gameplay from Air Surfer was next level. Out of this world. The Musketeer protection, like you guys called out, was just on point, man. It's been 6 years of watching him play, and he still just nails. I love it. I love what we just saw there out of both those guys. Two of the best that have ever touched the game, like you said, just trying to outpredict each other. And now we've got two people in our upper bracket that have not lost yet on the day. Now, like you said, AC, Air Surfers maybe not quite as clean as the first two, and maybe not as clean as the 4 for Mo, but still 2-0 and 2-0 is the story for both of our players in the upper bracket. We'll revisit them fourth match, of the day tomorrow. We're going to start our day off with Mugi versus Rainbow, and then Vitor versus Ruben. Then, of course, we'll get to Mo and Air Surfer after we get through our lower semis. We did say goodbye to Pandora and Deroy / Mr. Cena. I think the big surprise here on the day is that Rainbow was able to stay alive. But, you know, that's bound to happen. Our golden ticket holder in Pandora, we did say goodbye to. Final thoughts on the day. I mean, I gotta say, man, really, really impressed by Air Surfer. I wasn't sure what form he was going to come out in. Was he going to be at the top of his game? I hadn't seen him much in CRL. He's been on my friends list for, like I said, like 5-6 years, and I feel like he's been playing like a little bit less lately, but maybe he's on a different account, or maybe just different times than I am, because he was great today. I mean, he was by far and away I guess you have to say the number 2 player on the day. That's my big takeaway. That, and of course, Mohamed Light doing Mohamed Light things with whatever deck he plays against whatever deck, whatever matchup, he just wins. Juicy, what are your thoughts on the day?
Honestly, I still cannot get over that quote from Air Surfer. Honestly, I don't know. You know, it's hilarious at one point, but on the other hand, that's just what comes along with a player of this caliber, of this much experience. Like you said, Air Surfer has been in the competitive scene since day one, and sometimes you don't even know why you're making the plays that you're doing it, but they are the best plays because you have that game sense, you have the understanding, that instinctual ability to play, and it's just fantastic to watch.
Yeah, love that. That's a great call out there. You just make the right play because your muscle memory is telling you to, your gut's telling you to. AC, what are your thoughts, brother?
Well, I know I'm supposed to say something else, but I won't do it. I want to talk about Air Surfer. It's official as of today. I'm buying him a ticket to the World Finals if he doesn't qualify himself, just so I could watch him play in person again. Everything was so gorgeous today from him, and it's really exciting because there has been a lot of talk, a lot of people saying, just whether or not he still has it, and I think a lot of those questions just got answered. Every single play, he was thinking ahead. Every single play, he was making the correct choice. This
Musketeer, the Musketeer protection late game, it was like it got picked off one time by that fish boy, and he's like, it's not going to happen again. I will drop an army of units in front. The fireballs on top of the tower. This Musketeer then gets on top of that Mother Witch, which could have been, that moment in and of itself is a big swing. Musketeer does get taken off the board. Go ahead.
Yeah, even that interaction right there, he logs perfectly so that way the monk didn't get the third shot and knock the Mighty Miner off of the monk. So then the Mighty Miner was able to get the full damage that it was supposed to.
And run it back. Maybe let's go back like 20 seconds to look at what happens here, because there's a lot that goes wrong here for Mugi. Either one of you guys can take it because you guys were on the cast. Yeah, that's perfect. Because what we're going to see here is what Josh was just talking about. Then we get great Musketeer protection, and then the mistakes start coming in for Mugi. The Mother Witch doesn't get on top, and we get the Monk going opposite lane.
And then right here, I remember this very well. The log actually knocks the Mother Witch away, but he doesn't panic, uses the Ice Spirit, able to take out the Mother Witch right there. And that could have been incredibly valuable for Mugi. But I think one of the main things is that the Monk is walking to the right. That should never happen in these kind of situations.
Yeah.
Even that Ice Spirit at the end there, keeping the Musketeer alive just for a little bit longer, prevent that pig shot. Like, that's just huge.
And then we go. Why'd you play it? I don't know, but it worked. There it is. That extra 100 HP, the last second log, and a big time win for the American in Air Surfer. Obviously, both of them at World Finals this last year, and hopefully both of them will be there in 2023. But one thing is for sure, we will be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, 2 p.m. UTC. Go check out esports.clashroyale.com for all the information out there. Subscribe to the channel. Maybe you'll see Josh's video. Who knows where it lives? He says it might be here. It might not. Esports Royale EN on Twitter. And of course, you guys can follow all of us, Juicy J, AC, and myself, Andrew Guy here. Thank you so much for joining us for a great day one of our June monthly finals. We'll be back here tomorrow to crown maybe Mo again for the 4th time, but either way, we'll be giving someone new a golden ticket right here tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC. We'll see you there. Obviously, going to have a much faster cycle without the Inferno Tower, and you throw the Monk in there.
Yeah, that's right. And right here, I mean, Hogs getting constant chip. We see them as Snowball. Would not have changed a thing. That is such a clean way to start the day for Mohamed Light. And it feels like he can get away with not necessarily the cleanest defenses ever, just because the Zappies and the Mother Witch, when they're spread out, are just so valuable and so strong on defense.
And that should sew things up. 12 seconds remaining. Does go to Jack here. Air Surfer, 2 up, 2 down. Big shots in there for Ruben, and a naked fireball on the tower. He's just going for that cycle race, which it is an RG deck, but as you guys can see with Logs, Skellies, and E-Spirit, very easy to get back around. RG shot comes in. Oh my goodness.
This is one of the craziest bridge battles we've ever seen in CRL. Musketeers trying to be protected, but so are the Fishermen trying to pull Zabby to the bridge. Fireball comes out from Air Surfer. He takes the damage lead. Can this RG connect? Drill on the defense. Fireball comes out. Piggy connects. Fireball from Air Surfer. Will RG get the shot? No, it will not. Air Surfer gonna take a 2-0 sweep versus Moogie.
Mohamed Light doing what he does best. There's just not even really a way to comment on his matches anymore. It's just like, we should just shut up so that people can learn. You know what I mean? And then whenever we talk about him, we're just saying the same thing over and over. He's just untouchable.